Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Was an Attack on Titan with Kurama Powers movie. Before we start, please go support Jackkal for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Naruto is a male. Naruto in the world of Attack on Titan. Prologue. How did we arrive at these dark times? How did everything twist and turn in such a convoluted way that it ended here, thousands of years after the era of the shinobi came to an end? His head throbbed, overflowing with questions, all with the same answer, a devastating one for his soul. He had been unlucky, or perhaps he was too naive and didn't see something so obvious coming. His best friend, Sasuke Uchiha, betrayed him at the worst possible moment and murdered him, just when they had finished off that pig Madara Uchiha. It was quick and direct, a thrust to the heart that entered through the center of his back, severing his spine in the process and burning him severely from the inside out thanks to the lightning chakra that the Avenger had imbued in the blade of his Chakudo. The boy who was sitting atop a great mountain smiled bitterly. The irony was exquisite, for if he had been unlucky before, at the moment of death, luck itself seemed to take pity on him. After falling to the ground and being thrown down a ravine like trash by the one who had been like a brother to him, Kurama did what would never be thought possible for a mythical creature composed basically of such recalcitrant hatred that it would frighten the devil himself. He decided to merge his soul with the boy's to save his life, granting him, or rather causing him, some curious side effects. The sound of a terrible explosion pulled him from his thoughts. He turned his face looking for the source of such a sound, encountering a gigantic humanoid being without skin, as if it had been flayed as a result of horrible torture. The boy's blue eyes closed, sighing with exhaustion. Kurama, hey pup, are you going to help the people in the city? The young man heard in his mind. Naruto, I'm bored, maybe I'll look for some fun down there. I've never disliked killing beasts, the blue-eyed boy replied to his inner demon. And they are both one, since Kurama mixed his soul with his to save him, that is, they are two entities in the same body. Kurama, well, go for it, pup, I haven't seen you fight for 3 weeks, I want to see if you're not rusty, smiling, showing his sharp fangs. Naruto, did you know you're a psychopathic fox? Disappearing from the mountaintop in a reddish flash, and appearing atop the great wall surrounding the city that was being besieged by those enormous monsters called Titans. The blonde boy watched intently as the big guy leaning against the wall had opened a large hole in the first ring of walls, and a large number of Titans much smaller than him, but of considerable size, rushed in, massacring and destroying everything in their path. Naruto sighed, bending his knees and covering his face with a black scarf and his hair with a hood. His outfit was not visible since he wore a black robe over it that didn't reveal anything. The boy vanished in a red flash, reappearing on the shoulder of one of the Titans, who, before it could move to try and devour him, was decapitated with a single blow from the Uzumaki's sword. Filthy beasts, he disappeared again in a reddish flash, going on to finish off all the Titans he encountered one by one. Not far from there, 2 children of about 13 years old were surprised to see how one of the pieces of the wall had swept away their house. Desperately they shouted, looking for their mother among the rubble of the building and finding her under the wooden supports of the roof. Mom, I'm going to get you out of here. The woman looked at the 2 children in terror because with those things near where they were, the 2 little ones were in grave danger. 2. Iren, Mikasa. Get out of here, it's dangerous. The woman spoke with all the strength she had as half of her body was crushed by the rubble. Iren, Mom, I'm not going to leave you behind, do you hear me? I'm going to get you out of here, help me, Mikasa. Both children tried to pull the woman's arms to get her out, but there was no way, nor could they lift the thick pieces of wood that were crushing their mother. Carla, listen to me carefully, get out of here, those things are coming and I don't want anything to happen to you, feeling weaker and weaker. Mikasa, ma'am, not knowing what to say or do. Carla, Mikasa, take Iren away from here, find a safe place in the Trost district. Iren, I'm not going to leave you here, do you hear me? Crying with helplessness. Mikasa, Iren looking at him nervously. At that moment a loud crash was heard. The 3 turned their heads to see a Titan crushing a house and pulling a child and a woman out of the rubble to eat them. Carla, damn it, run, run, you fools. She yelled at the children to get them both out of there. However, they were both petrified with fear, and to make matters worse, the monster had heard the woman's screams, focusing its attention on them. The creature approached where they were, extending its arms to take its next meal. Iren, get away, monster, he screamed, completely terrified. Just as the enormous being was about to grab them, a crimson flash illuminated the eyes of the 3, decapitating the Titan and jumping off it, approaching them. Naruto, what are you doing here? You should be fleeing towards the Trost district. Shiganshina is lost. Iren, I'm not going to abandon my mother. The brown-haired boy shouted through tears. Naruto, damn it, approaching the woman and easily freeing her from the rubble. You have to leave here. Then a blonde man dressed in the garrison's military uniform arrived. Carla, Hannison, sighing in relief at finally seeing a familiar face in that hell they were immersed in. Hans, thank goodness you're all right. Noticing the man next to the 3 of them, and who are you? The boy observed him for a few seconds without much interest before focusing all his attention on three titans approaching in the distance. Naruto, that doesn't matter now, get them to safety while I deal with the monsters disappearing again, surprising the four. Iren, who is that guy watching with a slight gleam in his eyes, just like Mikasa, as that guy fought face to face with the titans and finished them off without much effort. Hands, let's get out of here. Quite scared by what he had just seen, the four of them headed towards the Trost district, just like the thousands of people who were trying to flee Shiganshina by any means necessary. Naruto finished off all the titans nearby in a flash. Unfortunately, a loud crash echoed throughout the district, alerting the few soldiers still standing, fighting desperately not to win but to buy time for all those who were fleeing. "Soldier, it's the armored titan, we're doomed. Run while you can," shouted one of the men from the garrison division, giving in to panic. Naruto, tusk cowards leaping across the rooftops, surprising the few who were still there, he finally managed to position himself in the path of the armored titan, who stopped upon seeing him surprised. Interesting, this one isn't like the others. The enormous being growled, throwing a punch at the blonde boy who easily dodged it. The titan observed him again for a few moments before trying to strike him once more, again missing. "We'll see how tough you are armored." The kitsune moved at great speed, disappearing from the titan's sight and reappearing right in front of him, kicking him in the face and sending him flying several meters backward, knocking him flat on his back. "Heh, you're not as tough as you look." The armored colossus got up, observing him with fear, so much so that he tried to flee from him. Oh, not that the boy disappeared into a flash of light, appeared before the titan, striking it in the face again with the same effect as before, knocking it to the ground and breaking its jaw in the process. "You're pathetic." The blonde boy swung his sword over the titan's face. He raised his weapon, ready to rip out the titan's teeth one by one, but unfortunately for him, he heard a loud noise in the distance. The colossal titan had torn a piece of the wall off its hinges and hurled it at the Jinchuriki. They're cooperating, dodging the projectile that hit the armored titan directly, leaving it more or less unharmed. Naruto stoically observed the colossal titan. However, he noticed many of the other titans heading towards the evacuation point in the Trost district. "You're lucky this time," he said, disappearing from the sight of the two monsters, who relaxed. Now they could escape. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 1. 5 years had passed since the Shiganshina district disaster, which had been invaded by titans, forcing all its residents to flee to the Trost district. Wall Maria had fallen, and with it, countless soldiers and civilians perished, a few fighting, many more fleeing. To make matters worse, the military high command and the king himself had organized a forced conscription of civilians, primarily refugees from Shiganshina, to try and reclaim the lost territory. Among them was Armin Arlert's grandfather, a friend of Mikasa and Iren, who had managed to escape Shiganshina precisely because of his grandfather. The attempt to recover the land resulted in an absolute failure, losing thousands of lives and generating enormous discontent among the population, mainly towards the military, which had been the main instigator of the forced conscription of refugees crowding the streets of Trost. Everything that happened 5 years ago added to the Shiganshina disaster. That was the name given to the failed operation to recover the lost territory. Did not deter many young people, including a brown-haired, green-eyed boy named Eren Yeager and his two friends, Mikasa Ackerman and Armin Arlet, from enlisting as cadets at the military academy located in Trost, even though they had to argue with Carla Yeager, Iren's mother. Flashback. Mikasa, Iren, and Armin had arrived at the Yeager family's new residence in the Trost district. Their new home wasn't very opulent, a small, modest two-story house with modest rooms. But all things considered, after losing everything, at least they had a roof over their heads. They had been very lucky, as Armin hadn't received a place to stay, and that's why Carla, Mikasa, and Iren himself asked him to come live with them. The blonde boy reluctantly agreed, as he didn't want to be a burden to his friends. Iren Mom were home, entering and taking a seat at the living room table with his two companions. Carla Yeager came down from upstairs with a wicker basket full of perfectly folded clothes. "Carla, hi guys, what have you been doing outside so early?" the woman questioned, putting the container on the ground and approaching the table. "Armin, we were walking around and talking about what happened 5 years ago, Mrs. Yeager." "Carla, you shouldn't dwell on that anymore, it's been a long time, would you like something to drink?" "Mikasa, thank you very much, ma'am, but I'm not thirsty," the dark-haired woman replied with a serious expression. "Iren, me neither, Mom, just as serious as the girl sitting next to him." "Armin, could I ask you for a glass of water, Mrs. Yeager?" He was a little nervous about what was about to happen. "Carla, of course." Armin taking a wooden cup and filling it with water. The cup is made of wood due to the severe lack of resources. "Here you go," giving the container to the young man with golden hair. The woman noticed the seriousness of her son Mikasa's, so she had to ask them what was wrong. "You're both very serious, what's the matter?" "Iren, Mom, I was talking with Mikasa and Armin and I've decided to enlist, they will too." The three of them focused their gaze on the woman who opened her eyes in surprise and horror. Carla, absolutely not. It's too dangerous. I won't let you go. Many of those who go in there end up dead on their first mission. I'm not going to let that happen to you, Iren, but... Carla, no buts. You should be very grateful that we're here safe in this house, and she couldn't continue because her son cut her off. Iren, as long as the Titans exist, we won't be safe anywhere. Mom, we have to fight back and destroy them and save humanity. Mika, Army POV, Iren. Carla, don't you understand? Enlisting is suicide, trying by all means to make her son reconsider. Iren, being here and doing nothing is suicide. Soon they will assault Wall Rose and invade Trost, just like what happened with Shiganshina and Wall Maria. Carla, no means no, I won't allow it. And so they argued for hours until Iren finally managed to convince his mother by telling her that he would join the military police, even though it was a vile lie. At least Carla Yeager's heart would be more at peace from now on. End of flashback. All the cadets formed up rigorously on the training field located outside the compound. A bald, rather grumpy-looking man came out of the barracks at a brisk pace, standing right in front of them all. All at attention, scum. The recruits jumped, stiffening and raising their chins as high as they could. My name is Keith Shadys and I will be your instructor. I'm warning you right now, I don't like undisciplined rats, scoundrels, or traitors, walking in front of them staring intently into their eyes, and even less cowards. From today on, your asses belong to me, don't get the wrong idea, and if I decide to kick them, you'll be grateful I do, is that clear? Everyone, yes sir. Shadys, I can't hear you faggots, speak up. Everyone, yes sir. Shadys walked until he stood in front of a young man as bald as himself. The poor boy began to sweat profusely at the imposing presence of the military veteran. Shadys, what's your name, scum? He yelled at him from just 2 feet away from his face. Sir, Connie Springer, sir. Shadys, where are you from, you piece of trash? Connie, from Ragakos. Shadys narrowed his eyes, increasing the nervousness of poor Springer, who was already beginning to regret having enlisted. Shadys, from Ragako. In that godforsaken little town there are only cows and faggots, and I don't see any horns on you, cadet. Do you like sucking hicks? Connie, no sir. Shadys, and buck you. Connie, no sir. Shadys, I bet you're one of those ungrateful guys who, while they're getting laid, don't even have the decency to give the other guy a handjob. From now on, your cadet ball 8, are you okay with that? Connie, yes sir. Shadys moved on to the next wretch who was already starting to sweat. Minutes later, Shadys had already given a few nicknames and had taken his revenge by insulting everyone present. The man was about to start a physical fitness test when the sound of someone chewing food alerted him. Like a breath, he stood in front of the poor devil who had dared to do such a stupid thing. Shadys, what the hell do you think you're doing, you scum? Angrily observing a young woman with brown hair tied in a ponytail who was eating what looked like a potato. What's your name, trash? Sasha Browser, without stopping eating his food, which angered the bald instructor even more. Shadys, stop it. Trying to take the potato from her hand, but it was swallowed whole by the woman to the surprise of everyone present, including Shadys himself. Damn it, where the hell are you from? Sasha, from the Dapa Mountain District, sir. Shadys, if I ever see you eating outside of lunch and dinner hours again, you're going to clean the camp latrines until every food you put in your mouth tastes like shit, did you hear me? Scaring the poor girl. Sasha, yes sir. Shadys walked with his back to the cadets to continue with the routine, however he saw a young man with blonde hair approaching in the distance, dressed in the same uniform as them. Is this where the new cadets are inspected? In a nonchalant tone. Shadys, yes, this is it. Judging by his appearance, this guy was undoubtedly one of his cadets. What time do you think this is to be showing up here, scum? It's just that I ran into a black cat on the way and had to take a detour somewhere outside the earthly world. A white-haired man with his face covered smiled proudly at his student. Shadys, what? Don't try to be funny with me, you infectious trash. What's your name, you piece of shit? He shouted angrily at the watchful eyes of the rest of the recruits who were trembling with fear except for 3. It's very rude to insult people and not introduce yourself first. Everyone's jaw dropped to the floor except for Shadys, who was grinding his teeth in pure rage at the 3 cadets mentioned earlier. Shadys, get down on the ground and do 100 garbage push-ups. As you say, starting the exercise at a very good pace and finishing it 5 minutes later. Shadys, do another 200, 100 with one arm and the rest with the other. Again, the blonde proceeded to perform the exercise, surprising everyone present. No way, stepping on the young man's back, but to his and everyone else's surprise, the boy didn't flinch and continued. Stop, he obeyed and stood up to face him. I like you, kid, you've got real guts. What's your name? He asked this time without shouting. Naruto Uzumaki, sir, and who are you? Shadys, Keith Shadys, your instructor and the instructor of those idiots over there. Pointing at the rest of those present, where are you from? Naruto, from outside the walls again. Everyone's jaws dropped to the ground upon hearing that. He had to be lying. Shadys, it's impossible, it's not safe to live outside the walls. Naruto, you can believe me or not, but I'm here, alive and ready to join the army. Shadys, go and form up with the others. We're going to start with the physical tests and the use of the 3-dimensional maneuvering equipment. Naruto, Hey. The training day passed quickly. Everyone was exhausted after numerous physical conditioning exercises and their first use of the EMT three-dimensional maneuvering equipment. When Shaddy's retired to his room, many of the cadets surrounded the blonde newcomer, some with intrigue, others with admiration, and a few with jealousy. Naruto, before you tell me or ask me, can I know your names? With a small smile that made more than one of the cadets blush. Edo, my name is Krista Lentz, said a short blonde girl, extending her hand to the boy who took it to kiss the back of it, making her blush as if she were a traffic light. Naruto, nice to meet you, Kristashin. My name is Connie Springer, nice to meet you, Naruto. You have my admiration and respect for how you put that bitter Shaddy's in his place. Shaking her hand with the blonde who smiled kindly at her. I'm Shasa Browse, nice to meet you, Naruto. The blonde repeated the gesture he had made with Krista and kissed her hand, causing the brunette to blush slightly and drop the bread from her hand in shock. I'm Marco Bot, nice to meet you, Naruto. I'm Emir, nice to meet you, handsome, said a brunette girl with freckles on her face, smiling mischievously at the boy who proceeded to kiss her hand. Naruto, same here, Emerchin. I'm Thomas Wagner, I hope we can be friends. Naruto, of course, patting his shoulder. I'm Carolina Mina, I hope we get along well, Naruto, said a black-haired girl with her hair styled in two pigtails that fell over her shoulders. Naruto, of course, it's a pleasure to meet you, Carolinechin, kissing her hand and making her blush. I'm Eren Yeager, nice to meet you, Naruto. I'd like to ask you about what everything is like outside the walls. Naruto, relax, everything will come in its own time. He shook the green-eyed boy's hand. I'm Armin Arlet, nice to meet you, Naruto. I hope we can be good friends. Naruto, of course. Looking at the girl next to Eren and Armin and blushing slightly, this was noticed by the others who had different reactions. The boys raised an eyebrow while the girls glared at poor Mikasa, who was also blushing. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, nice to meet you. Mikasa Ackerman, the girl with long black hair, replied shyly, covering herself with her red scarf as she received a kiss on her hand from the blonde boy. Naruto, it's a pleasure. Mikachin, the murderous instincts of the other women intensified greatly upon hearing how the young man had referred to Mikasa. Everyone except Mikasa POV, she shortened her name, damn you Mikasa. Eren, would you mind sitting with us tonight and talking for a bit, to get to know each other and all that? Naruto, sure, I'd love to answer your questions. Smiling slightly, catching the brunette in the act and making all the girls blush. Everyone, including Mikasa, how clever he is. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 2. The huge group of cadets went into the barracks and got their dinner. A simple soup with some bread and a piece of fruit to choose from, an apple, a pear and some raspberries. Each one made their choice, taking a seat at the tables. Naruto sat down to be accompanied by Eren, Armin, Mikasa, Connie, Marco, Thomas, Carolina, Sasha, Krista, and Emir. The rest took other places, Jean, Rionur. Berthold and Annie occupied the table next to them, putting their ear to the conversation that the rest of their companions were having. Eren, Naruto, can I ask you what it's like outside the walls? Naruto, there are huge meadows, colossal mountains, there's the sea, and there are many titans. Armin, and if that's the case, how the hell did you manage to survive out there? The blonde boy asked, frightened. Naruto, being very cautious, moving through the shadows and at night, analyzing the surroundings and avoiding risks. Sasha, and the food? Asked the brunette, who loved delicacies, causing everyone to break out in a huge bead of sweat on the back of their necks. Naruto, he hunted animals, fished, or simply went days without eating. Everyone looked at each other in surprise at this revelation. Eren, and were you out there alone? Naruto, yes, sipping what was left of his soup. Connie, and your parents? The bald man asked, dreading the answer. Naruto, dead. Everyone lowered their heads, a little saddened by that news. Connie, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. Naruto, don't worry, I got over it a long time ago. There was a bang on the table next to us and everyone focused their attention on it, seeing Jean Kirstein standing up from his seat, glaring angrily at the Uzumaki. Jean, you're a liar. Do you seriously believe all the nonsense he's telling you? Naruto stared at him straight in the eyes without showing any emotion, which angered Jean even more. What, have you come down off your high horse? Or do you have some more stupid stuff to tell us? Naruto, I'm not forcing you to listen to me if you dislike what I'm saying so much. You can leave. Kirstein walked over to stand next to the Uzumaki and took the apple that was next to his soup bowl. Jean, idiots like you end up with horrible things happening to them, you know. Do yourself and the rest of us a favor and leave this barracks and go back to the stinking slum you must have come from. Eren couldn't control himself any longer and jumped from the blonde's side to confront Jean. Eren, who do you think you are, you bastard? Jean, shut your mouth. This is between the liar boy and me. Go with your mother while she's still alive, because at this rate she doesn't have much time left. Eren exploded with rage and punched Jean in the chin, making him take a few steps back and bleed from the corner of his lips. Mikasa, Eren, stop it. Grabbing her brother, who was huffing and puffing with anger and rage. Jean, you damn useless thing. I'm going to put you in your place just like the liar. The brunette proceeded to hit the blonde, who was sitting staring at the place where his apple had been. Everyone thought he would receive the blow. Krista, Naruto, shouting to her partner, who seemed to be absent. Jean smiled arrogantly as his fist was about to strike the blue-eyed man in the temple. However, the man moved very quickly, so quickly that no one present had been able to see him. Naruto, because of scum like you, humanity has lost so much. Without another word, he grabbed the brunette's right arm and struck it with his knee at the elbow. A loud crack echoed through the room, startling all the cadets. Jean fell to his knees, gritting his teeth, doing his best not to scream in pain. You know, I've met guys like you before, especially one person who, to your misfortune, I hate with all my soul. After saying that, he grabbed Jean's other arm, repeating the same action, only this time using one of his fists to break it. The brunette let out a shriek of pain and fell to the floor unconscious before the surprised and frightened gaze of many of the cadets. The sound of a door opening made everyone shift their focus. Shaddies, what the hell is going on here? Seeing Jean lying on the ground, why is Cadet Kirstein on the ground? Naruto, it was me. Everyone looked at the blonde boy with a mixture of admiration and pity. Shaddies, what did you do to him, Uzumaki? The bald instructor asked, approaching the blonde boy with a grumpy face. Naruto, I broke both his arms. I don't like being called a liar, and bending down to pick up the apple that was on the ground that they take what's mine, taking a loud bite of the fruit. Shaddies, you have a talent for fighting, kid. Observing Jean's body with his arms completely dislocated, but listen to me carefully, don't let it happen again, is that clear? Carrying Kirstein to take him to the infirmary. Iren, Naruto, are you okay? The blonde sat down, biting his apple with a lost look in his eyes. Emir, Naruto, watching her worriedly. Armin, Naruto, can you hear me? Iren, hey, Naruto. The blonde blinked a couple of times, observing them. Naruto, what's wrong? Now more relaxed. Krista, what do you mean, what's going on? You just sent a colleague to the hospital. Iren, he brought it on himself, receiving a nod from Connie, Marco, Thomas, Carolina, Sasha, Armin, and Emir. Krista, I know, but hesitating slightly. Emir, oh come on, shorty, don't tell me he wasn't handsome and hexy when he was beating the crap out of that idiot Kirstein. Krista blushed slightly, as did Sasha, Carolina, and Mikasa. Naruto, Imerchin, you know I'm right here, right? The freckled girl winked at him, smiling mischievously. Emir, more reasons to tell you. The other girl's POV, you shameless bitch. Iren, hey Naruto. The blonde boy glanced at him, inviting him to speak. Which branch of the army do you want to join? Everyone stopped their nonsense and focused their attention on the blonde boy, who seemed to ponder his answer for a few moments. Naruto, the Survey Corps. Everyone who? Armin, are you sure about that? A little scared. The Survey Corps is exposed to many dangers. Many of its members don't return alive from their missions. Why do you want to join them? Naruto, I'd be lying if I said it was so I could go outside the walls. I simply want the opportunity to take down as many titans as I can and help humanity in these dark times. Iren opened his eyes, surprised by his companion's words. Iren, that's exactly what I want to do, Naruto. I also want to join the Survey Corps to destroy the titans and help humanity. The blonde smiled at him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Naruto, then let's be partners and fulfill our dreams. Thomas, you're crazy. You're going to die like the others. Please don't make that mistake. The boy said with terror and hopelessness, angering Iren for his lack of optimism. The green-eyed boy was going to answer him, but the Uzumaki got there first. Naruto, nowhere in this world is safe as long as those things exist. If I have to die outside, I'll do it fighting to the end, making them pay dearly for my life and taking as many monsters with me as I can. I respect your decision if you choose the garrison or the military police, but you should know that the walls won't stop them. The only way to stop them is by wiping them all out. Krista, Naruto looking at him with a gleam of admiration in her eyes. Emir, that's the spirit. Blondie, smiling. Sasha, if we kill the titans there will be more farms and therefore more food, drooling with a dreamy look. Carolina POV, brave. The brunette thought with a faint burning in her cheeks. Connie, great, well said senpai. Raising her thumb in agreement with her partner. Armin, I'll go with you, and Iren, I'll follow you, with determination in his eyes. What do you say, Mikasa? The Ackerman was looking at the blonde with the scarf covering the huge blush on her face. Mikasa, waving his hand in front of her without managing to get her attention. Emir, Tusk, she's staring at Naruto. Isn't that right, Ackerman? With a hint of annoyance in her voice, Naruto focused his attention on the girl, who lowered her head in embarrassment. For his part, the blonde couldn't do anything but smile a little nervously. Girls except Mikasa POV, Nuwu, Naruto likes her, crying anime style in their minds. Naruto, I'm going for a walk. I don't really feel like sleeping. The blonde got up from his seat and prepared to leave the barracks. However, he was approached by Iren and therefore Armin and Mikasa. Iren, can we go for a walk with you? Naruto, of course, it's always good to have company. The blue-eyed boy opened the door, looking at the rest of his classmates. See you tomorrow. Everyone, see you tomorrow. The four of them walked calmly through the streets of the Trost district in an awkward silence. Armin decided to break it by asking his new friend a question. Armin, Naruto, can I ask you a question? The shinobi nodded without taking his eyes off the road. When you beat Kirstein up, you said he reminded you of someone you hated. Are there more people outside the walls? Naruto, of course I am. Technically, he wasn't lying to the blonde guy. Iren, and can you tell me what that person did to make you hate them so much? It was now Jaeger's turn to ask. Naruto, he betrayed me at a very delicate moment. The three of them looked at each other with surprise and intrigue. Armin, what do you mean he betrayed you? Naruto sighed wearily. They still didn't have enough trust to tell him everything. Naruto, I don't want to talk about it right now. I hope you understand. Armin, of course, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. Quite embarrassed for having made his partner uncomfortable with such personal questions. Naruto, don't worry Armin, I'll tell you someday, although it still hurts to remember everything that happened that day. Looking sadly at the night sky. Mikasa POV, Naruto, what happened to you? Observing his back. Naruto, the sky is beautiful tonight. Looking upwards, as were his companions. Iren, you're right Naruto, the stars shine brighter tonight. Naruto, yes, like that night. Remembering what happened a long time ago, painful memories return to his mind. We'd better go back to the barracks. I don't want Shaddy's making me do any more push-ups tomorrow. Armin, yeah, I don't think it's very pleasant having him on top of you while you're trying to do them. Laughing softly, just like Iren. Without another word, the four of them set off to walk back to the barracks and get a proper rest for the day ahead. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 3. A new day dawned in the walled city. The sound of the male dormitory door bursting open woke everyone up a little startled. Connie, the Titans are attacking us. Falling comically from her bunk bed. Shaddies, get up you lazy bastards. Go have breakfast. I'll be waiting for you all at the training field at 7 o'clock sharp. He slammed the door behind him. Naruto, how does Mr. Nice Guy roll? Connie. The person in question nodded from the ground, causing laughter from everyone present. Armin, yawning sleepily. It's 6 in the morning, hugging his pillow. I'll sleep a little longer. The door burst open again, and this time it was Arlet who ended up on the floor with a mini heart attack. Shaddies, no staying in bed. Time for breakfast, scum. He left again after slamming the door. Thomas, what the hell? Getting up from his bed, he's probably behind the door listening to us. Naruto, I'm going out now. I don't want to get whipped or worse for not eating breakfast. With that, the blonde boy left the dormitory accompanied by many of the recruits heading towards the mess hall. Once there, they joined the women who had just arrived. Naruto grabbed a glass of milk, a piece of cake, and an apple and proceeded to sit with the girls since Ymir had been gesturing for him to join them ever since he came in. Naruto, good morning girls, sitting down next to Mikasa, who glanced at him and went back to eating. Sasha, will you give us credit with her mouth full of food? Krista, hi Naruto. Ymir, hello Blondie. Carolina, good morning Naruto. Naruto, how's your morning going? Taking a sip of milk. Ymir, it hasn't started well. That bald bastard scared us half to death by kicking our bedroom door to wake us up. Krista, Ymir, don't talk like that. A little embarrassed by her companion's unladylike vocabulary. Naruto, I agree with you. Imerchan, smiling at the freckled brunette who blushed while the others looked at her discreetly with sharp eyes. Iren, do you mind if we sit with you? The brunette said, accompanied by Armin, Marco, Connie, and Thomas. Naruto, sure. Do you want to sit next to Mikasa? Making a gesture to get up, to the displeasure of the brunette and the delight of the others. Iren, relax Naruto. Besides, I think Mikasa likes you sitting with her. Mikasa, cough, cough. Choking on the piece of fruit she had eaten. Iren, she yelled at her brother, then blushed furiously and lowered her head. All the girls except Mikasa POV, damn you and your big mouth Iren, while they looked at the poor brunette, promising him eternal pain. Iren POV, I talked too much today, is going to be very bad, sweating nervously. Breakfast time passed and it was 7 o'clock. All the recruits were standing completely upright as Shaddies walked past them one by one as if he were looking for a victim or victims. After circling them a couple of times, the instructor stopped abruptly. Shaddies, all right worms, today we'll be practicing hand-to-hand combat. Each of you will find a partner and have a short spar, switching roles between attacker and defender. You can change partners, but first use Uzumaki. Jaeger, step forward. Those chosen by the veteran soldier stepped out of the large group of cadets and stood side by side. Before the rest of your classmates begin practicing, I want you two to do the honors of having a short spar between yourselves. Since you started a little scuffle in the mess hall yesterday, I don't think you'll have any problem fighting now, right? Iren/Naruto, no sir. No. Shaddies, perfect. To the rest of you, pay close attention. I don't want you standing around doing nothing. Iren swallowed hard as he walked away from the others, as did the blonde boy. Mikasa watched them both, very worried. Mikasa, Iren Naruto. The girl's whisper was heard by Armin, who gently placed his hand on her shoulder. Armin, they'll be fine, don't worry. Shaddies, begin. Naruto got into a fighting stance, stepping forward with his left foot and flexing his right. With a gesture of his hand, he urged his friend to take the initiative and attack. The brunette threw a punch at the blonde's chin, but he blocked it with ease. Iren took a step back and lunged at him, intending to kick him in the face, but unfortunately for him, he was blocked again by the blue-eyed boy. Naruto, don't hold back, Iren. The jaddied boy nodded, launching a barrage of punches that were blocked by Naruto once again. Shaddies, switch roles. Use Uzumaki, now you attack. Iren stepped back, adopting a defensive position and waiting for his friend's attack. Naruto slowly approached the young Jaeger and disappeared for a second from the sight of everyone present, who were surprised to see Eren fall to the ground semi-conscious with a bruise on his right cheekbone. Armin, how did he do that? Very surprised. Krista, she disappeared for a second. Sasha and she hit Eren, almost knocking him out amazing. Connie, Naruto-senpai is great. Reinner, that kid he's not normal looking at Annie and Berthold who were also a little surprised. Naruto, are you okay? Eren offering his hand to his friend who gladly accepted it, getting up from the ground. Eren, yes my face hurts a little but I'm fine, rubbing his cheek. Naruto, hahaha you'll get over it, patting his shoulder happily. Shaddies, alright monkeys. Choose a partner and start practicing. Naruto, does anyone want to team up with me? All the cadets moved away from him in fear. They didn't want to face him even if their lives depended on it. Mikasa, I want to fight you. Naruto, the blonde boy, focused his gaze on her. Naruto, Mikachen, are you sure? I don't plan to hold back. Ackerman nodded, a little embarrassed by the affectionate way the shinobi had referred to her. Ymir, Tusk watching them from afar, especially the girl with the red scarf. Krista, jealous Ymir. The little blonde asked, teasing her companion. Ymir, as if you weren't too. Krista, I blushing and looking down at her feet. Sasha, right now I don't envy Mika. Naruto will beat her up finishing eating a piece of bread. Carolina, I do envy her. How I wish Naruto would spank me with his beautiful hands. Krista/Sasha, what, looking at her friend with a roll of her eyes. Carolina, I thought out loud, how embarrassing. Ymir, I didn't know you were into rough stuff. Mina, now that I think about it, I wouldn't mind if he grabbed my neck tightly to kiss me. Krista, stop it now you pair of degenerates, fuming just like Sasha. The rest of the cadets paired up and began training. Naruto smiled at Mikasa, making her blush. Naruto, I'll start by defending, give it your all Mikachen and don't hold back, getting into a defensive stance. Mikasa, yes. The brunette tested the blonde a little, making several feints to hit him. However, his defense was quite good in the opinion of the Ackerman girl. She didn't see any weak point in her. Naruto, come on. Mikachen. Mikasa tried to perform a foot sweep, but the blonde boy elegantly jumped, dodging it and then blocking a couple of punches aimed at his body. Mikasa took a couple of steps back and gathered momentum to kick him in the head. Unfortunately for her, the blonde boy not only blocked her attack but also grabbed her leg, smiling at her as if to say, I've got you. The brunette jumped, trying to kick him with her free leg, which was unsuccessful, but at least she managed to break free and back away. Now it's my turn, Mikachen. The girl got into a fighting stance, waiting for her opponent's attack. Naruto moved swiftly, not as fast as against Eren, but faster than the average human. Mikasa raised her left forearm, blocking an elbow strike aimed at her neck to show it off. She took a step to the right, dodging a downward kick from the blue-eyed boy, jumped, narrowly avoiding a foot sweep, and grabbed his right arm with both hands. Naruto smiled, making her blush. I've got you right where I want you, Mikachen. Without giving her time to react, the boy put her in a hold, lifting her off the ground. But for better or worse, Mikasa clung to his waist with both legs, causing them both to fall to the ground, her on top of him, their faces very close to each other. Everyone present stopped practicing to focus their attention on the couple, who were completely motionless, staring intently into each other's eyes. Krista's POV, new, crying comically, damn lucky girl. Ymir, Tusk, I should have asked Naruto to be my partner, looking at the two of them with narrowed eyes. Sasha's POV, a handsome guy comes along so quickly and he's taken away just as quickly, sighing resignedly. Carolina, I'm so jealous, attracting the gaze of the other girls and several of the cadets. I was thinking out loud again, lowering her gaze, blushing. Eren, that's the way, can I call you brother-in-law, smiling. Armin, Eren tapping him on the shoulder with his index finger. Turning around, startled by the death stares he received from Ymir, Krista, Carolina, and Sasha. Ymir, did you say something? Eren, cracking her knuckles, her eyes hidden behind a shadow. Eren, well, mom. He took off running, pursued by the four women, much to the amusement of many of the recruits. Meanwhile, Naruto reacted, getting up from the ground and gently taking Mikasa's hands. Naruto, it was great practice, Mikachen, I hope you agree. Smiling charmingly at her, which caused the reddish tint on Ackerman's cheeks to spread across her entire face and made the four women who were hunting the poor green-eyed boy accelerate their pace due to jealousy. Eren, help. Mikasa, Naruto. Crying his eyes out, feeling the Grim Reaper's scythe brushing against the back of his neck. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 4. After following poor Jaeger for a quarter of an hour, the four women gave up their pursuit and returned to the rest of the cadets. Not even 20 seconds passed before the four of them volunteered to fight the blonde boy who had a huge drop of sweat on his temple, while the rest of the recruits comically cried, pointing accusingly at the Uzumaki. All the men except Reinner and Berthold, you're a lucky guy. Naruto, it's not that big of a deal. Stroking his hair with a smile that made his four almost official fangirls blush, including Mikasa. Naruto, I want to practice with you. Everyone present turned to see who this woman was who also wanted to have her moment with the Uzumaki. It was none other than a blonde with her hair tied in a short ponytail, with pale skin and dull blue eyes, none other than Annie Leonhardt. Naruto, Of course, I hope the others don't mind. The rest of the girls looked at him with eyes that expressed nothing but a resounding no. Annie, I don't care what they think, or are you scared? The others looked at her with sharp eyes. Naruto, well, after those words, I have no choice but to accept your challenge. He separated from the others and got into a fighting stance. Let's see what you have to give me, Anachin. Emir tusk damn hexy blonde womanizer. Krista, Emir puffing out her cheeks. Emir, it's true, at least the part about being blonde and hexy, with a thoughtful pose. Carolina, sighing sadly. At this rate, I won't even be able to get close enough to give him a kiss. Sasha, don't even think about it, Mina. I swear on all the food in the world I won't let you near him. Chewing her piece of bread angrily. Emir, well, the same goes for Mikasa. The four of them turned around, looking sharply at the brunette who stared at them uncomprehending. Iren, leave Mikasa alone. Just because she was all over Naruto is no reason for you to look at her like that. Mikasa, Iren shut up, blushing horribly. While all of them were arguing amongst themselves, Naruto and Annie stared intently into each other's eyes without making any movement. The blonde boy smiled slightly, bending his knees a little. Naruto, what do you say we fight seriously this time? No more alternating, Anachin. The blonde nodded seriously. Annie, ok. They quickly approached each other, exchanging blows and dodges fluidly. Soon after they started, everyone else stopped their training to form a large circle around them. Two of the cadets watched the fight between the two blondes with great interest. These were Reinur and Berthold. Reinur, the kid fights pretty well. I wonder how he'll fare against the EMT. Watching Annie miss a direct kick to her opponent's face. Berthold, however good he is, I don't think he's as big a threat as that guy was 5 years ago, remembering with fear that man who wiped the floor with the armored titan. Reinur, don't remind me. Watching as Naruto blocked Annie's fist and tried to grab his arm to put him in a hold. Iren, awesome, this fight is even better than Mikasa's fight with Naruto. Armin, at least they're not on top of each other about to make out. Mikasa / Krista / Ymir / Sasha / Carolina, Arlet. With a murderous look, Armin, Gomnasai hiding behind Iren. The sound of a thud brought everyone's attention back to Annie Leonhardt, who was lying on the floor with blood trickling from the corner of her lips and her right cheek swollen. Naruto, sorry Anachin, I went a little too far, are you okay? Crouching down with a handkerchief in his hand and wiping the blood away with a bit of concern. I'm sorry, can you forgive me? Looking at her with pity, what happened next sent a chill through everyone present in that training field. Annie, yis, don't worry about it. A little flushed, she accepted the blonde's hand to get up. Emir, another one joins in. Damn handsome, intelligent, hexy and chivalrous blonde, the freckled girl said with annoyance and jealousy. Krista, it's not fair for a boy I like, he has to be liked by everyone else too, with a depressive aura. Sasha, Naruto is like the last cake, everyone wants it but only one will have it, drooling at the thought of the blonde-haired cake. Carolina, I will not resign myself, I will trample all the others if necessary. Speaking to herself out loud again. Ymir / Krista / Sasha, I'd like to see you fail spectacularly, with demonic faces towards the brunette with two pigtails. Mikasa remained silent for a few moments, observing the blonde man with a small gleam in her eyes. Iren, he's such a gentleman, kind, affectionate, strong, and it seems you're the only one who makes him blush. He whispered in his sister's ear, startling her and turning bright red. If I were you, I'd start making a move. Or he glanced at the other four, who returned his gaze, sending shivers down his spine. For my part, I give you my approval. The brunette finished speaking and left before the others could approach to listen. Mikasa, Naruto, she whispered in a faint, almost inaudible voice that surprisingly seemed to be heard by the blonde boy who turned to look at her, giving her a charming smile that made her blush and caused pangs of jealousy in the others. Even Annie frowned, brushing the dust off her uniform as she walked over to where Reinur and Berthold were staring at her as if she had two heads. Annie, what are you looking at, you pair of idiots, with a murderous gesture. Reinur / Berthold, and nothing, ma'am. Stiff as if the blonde were Shaddy's himself. Naruto, this training is tiring, wiping away some sweat that was dripping down his forehead. Connie, but you barely tried, senpai, crying comically out of envy. Shaddy's emerged from the barracks with his usual serious expression. All the cadets stopped practicing and stood in order and at attention. Shaddy's, that's more like it, scum. Finally, you're learning some manners, walking in front of them with his hands behind his back and staring intently into their eyes. Combat training is over for today. Come with me to the warehouse to collect your 3D maneuver gear. Everyone obeyed their instructor and went to the warehouse where each one collected in 3D maneuver gear. After that, they returned to the training field to line up in an orderly fashion with their gear on. Listen carefully, sewer rats. That 3D maneuver gear you've taken is your responsibility, so if any of you dare break it or lose it, I'll make you clean latrines with your tongue, chew shit, and finally I'll make you pay for your gear. Is that clear? Everyone, yes sir. Shaddies, I can't hear you, shy daters. Do you want to do 2,000 push-ups? Everyone, yes sir, shouting at the top of their lungs. Shaddies, that's the spirit, you trash. Smiling for once in his life, and for some strange reason, everyone felt a horrible chill run down their spines. Put your EMTs down and start doing push-ups. Everyone rolled their eyes at that, except for Naruto, who smiled amusedly. Sasha, why do we have to do push-ups if realizing their mistake? Oh crap. Shaddy's less whining cadet browse. I asked if you wanted to do 2,000 push-ups, and you bunch of cockroaches shouted at the top of your lungs that you did, so start now. He shouted from just inches away from poor Sasha's face, who was as pale as snow. Everyone took off their gear and started doing push-ups at a good pace. Gradually, many of them lowered themselves and then raised themselves more slowly, while Naruto continued at the same speed as at the beginning. Minutes later, almost everyone was sitting or lying on the ground, including Sasha, Emir, Krista, Carolina, Connie, Armin, Thomas, and Marco, watching in terror as Annie, Reinur, Berthold, Naruto, and a tired and very sweaty Mikasa and Eren continued doing push-ups as if there were no tomorrow. Shaddies, 600, 601, 602, 603. Eren lost strength in his arms and fell face down to the ground. Jaeger out, 604, 605, 606. Mikasa sighed wearily and carefully lowered herself to the ground so as not to hurt herself. Ackerman is out, 607, 608. Everyone present swallowed hard, watching as those four continued as if nothing had happened. 856, 857. Berthold coughed a little and got up, remaining on his knees. Berthold, I can't take it anymore, wiping the sweat from his face with his shirt sleeve. Shaddies, the giant is out, it's just the three of you left. 900, 901, 902, 903, shouting each number as if he was really enjoying it. Armin, those four, they're not human, terror in his voice. Emir, go Naruto, kick those two's butts. Krista, Emir, don't distract him. Emir, jealous that only I have the courage to encourage him. With a mocking smile, Krista, come on Naruto, show what you're worth. The blonde's words encouraged the rest of the blonde's acquaintances. Carolina, go get them Naruto, you're so strong and handsome, the last part in a whisper. Sasha, if you win, I'll give you my Naruto dessert. In Sasha's terms, this is like asking her to marry him. Connie/Thomas/Marco, you can do it, senpai, holding onto each other's shoulders like fans. Eren, go for it Naruto. With a smile as he looked at Mikasa hesitantly. Come on, Mikasa, encourage him, I'm sure he'd be thrilled. He said the last part in a whisper in Ackerman's ear, which made her blush slightly. Come on, Mika, but he couldn't finish speaking to his sister. Mikasa, come on Naruto, you can do it, I believe in you. If you reach 2,000, I'll give you a kiss. Everyone was stunned to hear her say that. Emir, Krista, Sasha, and Carolina gritted their teeth in pure rage while Naruto smiled. Naruto POV, it's worth putting in a little effort. Then the blonde boy began to accelerate his pace, surprising everyone present, and to top it all off, their jaws dropped to the ground as they saw Annie also increase her pace, keeping up with the blonde boy. Reinur's POV, these two, I expected it from Annie, sweating profusely and feeling cramps in his arms. But this guy, there's something strange about him, trying not to fall behind, but in the end. Shaddy's 1000. The blonde muscle man screamed in pain, collapsing onto his back, staring at the sky, drenched in sweat. Reinur's POV, what the hell are you Uzumaki Naruto? Shaddy's brawn out, it's just the two of you left, make me proud. Annie glanced sideways at the blue-eyed boy and saw that he was smiling. For some strange reason, she felt annoyed deep inside. She wouldn't let that boy beat her and get a kiss from Mikasa. Annie, you're not going to beat me, Uzumaki. Naruto will see, Anachan will see. Shaddy's 1200, 1201, 1202, 1203. Naruto, you look upset. Anachan, did I do something wrong? He asked innocently. Annie, shut up. Shaddy's, come on, you're almost there. 1400, 1401, 1402. Naruto glanced at the blonde again and smiled once more. Naruto, let's see if you can keep up with me. Both increased their intensity amid the shouts and cheers of their companions, who encouraged them both ecstatically. Minutes passed and both continued to fight in a fierce duel that was very close. Shaddy's 1756, 1757, 1758. At this rate, whoever reaches 2,000 first will win. Keep it up, cockroaches. Both young men continued without slowing down, sweating profusely. Annie's POV, just a little more. No, I won't let Ackerman kiss him. Annie let out a huge scream, speeding up. Reinur, she's very motivated. Whatever happens to her, I don't want to know. Watching her with fear, as did many of the male cadets. Naruto, that's right, Anachan, taking a deep breath, but I won't let you get ahead, not when this is child's play to me. The blonde boy also increased the intensity. Shaddy's 1849, 1850, 1851. Sasha, amazing. They can both do it, although I almost want Naruto to lose. Krista/Emir/Carolina. I agree, with expressions conflicted by the difficult dilemma of deciding between supporting the shinobi and having Mikasa kiss him or letting him lose so they could comfort him. Marco, Connie, Eren, and Armin looked at them with drops of sweat on the back of their necks and a common thought. The four POV, poor Naruto/Naruto senpai. Shaddy's 1926, crouching down in front of them both to pressure them and make them nervous. 1949, 1950, 1951, only 49 more worms. Annie POV, I am not going to lose. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 5. Both blonde men were panting exhausted as they went up and down completely synchronized. Everyone there was completely thrilled by the level of strength and physical endurance of their companions. Shaddies, 1987, 1988, 1989. Annie felt the strength in her arms suddenly leave her and she remained completely static with her arms stretched out to the maximum. Berthold, it seems he's reached his limit. Reinur, however Naruto is still acting like nothing's wrong, whatever it is he's not human. He whispered the last part into his shapeshifter's ear. We have to keep an eye on him from now on. Berthold, yes, that would be best. There's something about him that gives me the creeps. Observing the Uzumaki with a bit of concern. Shaddies, go Leonhardt. The one addressed tried to start again, but when she bent her arms, an intense pain caused her to fall face down to the ground with a loud thud. Leonhardt out, 1996, 1997, 1998, 1999, 2000, everyone, he did it. Shouting with excitement, the blonde boy got on his knees and moved a little to his left, where Annie lay on the ground clutching her arm and gritting her teeth from the pain she felt. Naruto, you did great, Anachan gently touching her aching arm. Don't worry, the pain will pass soon. As if he were a fortune teller, Annie felt a pleasant warmth in the area the boy was touching. In a few seconds, the pain had disappeared, much to her surprise. I'll help you up. The blonde boy put his arms around her back and behind her knees and stood up with her in his arms as if she weighed nothing. The girls looked at Annie wanting to kill her in agony, and she, for her part, could only stand when the blue-eyed boy bent down to put her down. Annie, how did you? The young man simply smiled at her tenderly, causing her to blush very faintly. Naruto, a man has his secrets. Anachan. With that, the boy took off his jacket, dazzling all the girls present with the sight of his white shirt completely soaked in sweat, clinging to his beautiful body. Ymir, Hexy devouring him with her eyes. Carolina, an angel, that was all the brunette could manage to say as a slight drool trickled from the corner of her lips. Sasha, a delicacy, drooling just like Carolina. Krista, I agree with Ymir. Her eyes were shining and a big blush was on her face. Iren, damn, looks like you hit the jackpot. Hamika, looking towards where his friend was to find Armin. Armin, it was with him. Damn, if I were a woman maybe. Iren, don't say such things. It gives me chills just thinking about it, hugging himself with a disgusted face. Naruto saw Mikasa running up and smiled slyly at her. Naruto, I did it. Mikachan, I think I deserve my reward. The girl lowered her head, blushing deeply, and gathering her courage, brought her lips close to the Jinchuriki's face, giving him a shy kiss on the cheek. Mikasa, you were fantastic. Naruto, thank you so much. Mikachan, I would do this and the impossible for a kiss from you, smiling happily, causing poor Ackerman to blush. Annie Tusk walking towards her two companions who moved out of her way upon seeing the unfriendly face she was wearing. Shaddies, all right, worms. And especially you Uzumaki, collect your EMTs and go to the mess hall for dinner. Tomorrow we will be practicing with the three-dimensional maneuver equipment. Break ranks. The majority of cadets collected their equipment and began to leave towards the showers. Naruto, I need a shower like I need food. Sasha, food, drooling, causing everyone to sweat a huge drop. Naruto, I'm going to take a shower. See you later. Mikachan, girls, and everyone else. Picking up his jacket from the floor and starting the walk to the showers. Kurama, brat, you could sense those three. Naruto POV, yes, I know, I could feel it too. Kurama, and you go and heal that blonde brat. You know that after everything you did today they'll start watching you, right? Referring to the three shifter titans. Naruto POV, I know on one hand it's bad and on the other it's good. Now they'll be more careful with their plans, entering the barracks and then going into the showers. Shit, if I have to get naked in one of the changing rooms and then go all the way to the showers, they'll see touching his chest over his heart. Kurama, have you become even more of an idiot since that brat with the scarf kissed you, or what? Just mask the scar with a genjutsu and that's it, he huffed, annoyed at how idiotic his friend could be sometimes. Naruto POV, you're right, but if I do that I should go into the locker room first, you know, because of the other genjutsu I use. Kurama, yes, whatever you say, brat, now let me sleep. The imposing fox curled up into a ball and proceeded to fall asleep in the enormous green meadow that the young man had given him so that he would not feel trapped. Naruto entered the changing rooms and proceeded to undress, observing himself in the small mirror that had hung on the wall. His blue eyes showed anger, hatred, and sadness as he saw the enormous scar on his chest, right over his heart. The mark seemed to open into a kind of root or ray effect around the central point. The Jinchuriki caressed it while continuing to look at himself in the mirror. Naruto, Sasuke clenching his teeth in rage. I hope you're rotting in hell, you and your disgusting family. The boy dispelled the genjutsu, changing his appearance. And what could it be? I still can't get used to seeing myself like this, masking his appearance again. This time also hiding the enormous scar he himself had left visible so as never to forget everything that happened and everything he did long ago. Iren, Naruto, have you showered yet? Speaking aloud to find out where his friend was. Naruto, no, I was just about to do it, leaving the dressing room with a towel wrapped around his waist. Connie, you're strong, senpai, patting his back hard. Idai. You look like you're made of stone, grabbing his right hand which was throbbing painfully. Armin, well, I'm going to take a shower now, I'm hungry. Marco, since when is Sasha man and blonde? Making those present laugh and causing a food-loving brunette who was naked soaping her body to sneeze. Everyone proceeded to shower and leave their clothes neatly arranged to be taken to the laundry. Naruto searched through a large number of uniforms looking for one that fit him. Connie, problems with clothes, senpai. Helping him find a shirt in his size. Naruto, it's no wonder there aren't any in my size with how skinny you all are. Iren, take a look at this one, handing him a shirt a little bigger than the others. The blonde put it on and well, at least it fit him well, a little tight around the chest, but it fit. Connie, I already know someone who'll make the girls drool in the cafeteria, right, senpai, nudging him with her elbow. Naruto, whatever you say. All the boys came out of the showers and went to the living room where the women were already sitting waiting for them. Ymir, you take a long time to shower, has something happened in there? Laughing mischievously, making the others blush because of how filthy her words were. Connie, now that you mention it, we were looking for clothes for Naruto-senpai. With great innocence. The women noticed the blonde man who was coming behind the bald man, admiring his well-built body, as the shirt he was wearing was really tight against his skin. Carolina, Naruto, your clothes look great on you, a little embarrassed. Ymir, what looks good on him? Damn, I'd take it off right now. Undressing the lucky Konohanan with her eyes. Krista/Sasha/Carolina/Mikasa, Ymir, pervert. Very flushed because the mental image was pure gold. Ymir, oh come on, if you're thinking it too well, more for me, right, Naruto? Naruto, let's eat now, shall we? Taking a seat next to Mikasa with a slight blush on his face. As he began eating, he felt 3 pairs of eyes on him, but it wasn't any of his classmates at his table. He looked up and focused on the next table where Reinner, Bertholdt, and Annie were staring at him. As soon as he noticed, the 3 of them looked down at their plates and started eating. Naruto POV, what are you plotting, Anachin and company? Returning to dinner, he smiled at the girls when one of them stared at him in a daze, much to the envy of the male group. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 6. The night gave way to the next day. Everyone lined up again at 7 o'clock on the training field after having breakfast. Shaddies had woken them up again that morning, telling them to bring their EMTs with them as they would be practicing with them all day. The instructor yelled a few times, hurled a generous amount of insults, and left to report to Commander Pixis on the progress of the new cadets. Iren, he arrives, insults us, and leaves putting on his harness. Armin, well, I prefer that to him being here yelling at us doing the same as his brown-haired friend. Naruto, I'm going to see how this works. The blonde boy bent his knees and deployed the cables that were embedded in the enormous wooden wall that Shaddies had indicated as their training base. The EMT released a large amount of compressed air, and the blonde boy was launched into the air, landing on the massive wall. It's not that difficult, come on, you try it. The rest nodded, doing the same as the blonde boy until it was Iren's turn. He was propelled with too much force toward the wall, the impact would be very painful. Mikasa, Iren, she leaned back a little to try and stop him. Naruto, shit, I have no other choice but to. The blue-eyed boy flexed his legs against the wall and released the cables to take a great leap and catch the jaddied boy in the air, and both fell to the ground at a height of about 10 meters. Ymir, they're going to kill each other, looking at both of them falling with concern. Krista, Naruto, Iren. Mikasa, Nuo. The blonde boy turned around in the air to use his equipment again, however the cables did not stick properly and both fell to the ground. To the surprise of everyone present, the blonde boy landed on his feet carrying Iren on his shoulder without suffering a scratch. Sasha, how? With her eyes wide open and her mouth so wide that the piece of bread she was eating fell out. Mikasa, Naruto, Iren. Jumping down to the ground and running towards them. Naruto, calm down, Mikachin, it's okay. The girl hugged him, surprising him and everyone else. Mikasa, Baka, you scared me. How is it possible? That the boy tenderly stroked her head, provoking jealousy in 5 girls we all know. Naruto, shhh, calm down, we're fine, that's what matters. Leaving Iren on the ground, trembling like a leaf swaying in the wind. Mikasa, it does matter, tightening her embrace of the golden-haired young man. What happened? Naruto, look at me, Mikachin. The girl obeyed, lifting her head with teary eyes. I promise I'll tell you soon, but I'm not ready yet. The brunette was about to reply, but... Carolina, are you okay? Did you hurt yourself? Naruto, very worried about him. Naruto, calm down, Carolinachin, we're fine. Krista, thank goodness, breathing calmly. Ymir, damn it, Blondie, you scared me. She crossed her arms, slightly annoyed. Naruto, sorry, my body moved on its own. Connie, speaking of which, what the hell did we see? Senpai falling from that height and not breaking your legs, the bald guy asked, speaking for everyone else. Naruto, I don't want to talk about it, looking away. Sasha, but looking at him with concern. Naruto, no, he shouted, startling them. Annie, Reinner, and Bertholdt climbed down from the wall to approach them. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell at you, I don't want to talk about it. Annie POV, what are you hiding, Uzumaki? looking at the blonde boy seriously. Shaddies, why are you all standing there, you bunch of scum? Arriving with an annoyed expression, start training now. Everyone nodded and continued their practice. Little by little, they got the hang of controlling their EMTs except for Iren, who was having a lot of trouble controlling his. Jaeger, if you don't learn to use your equipment, I'll have to kick you out. You have until tomorrow morning to improve or you're out. Now go have dinner and get some rest. I want you here first thing tomorrow morning for the final tests. Training time is quite short due to the shortage of personnel. That's why the recruits are under so much pressure. Everyone broke ranks to head to the barracks. Armin and Mikasa tried their best to cheer up Iren, who was very upset with himself for not knowing how to use the EMT. Once everyone sat down at the table for dinner, the brunette clenched his fists and pushed his dinner away. Iren, damn it, how am I supposed to kill the Titans if I can't even use the EMT, damn it? Mikasa, Iren, you need to eat. Iren, I don't want to, leave me alone. The girl looked down sadly. Armin, Iren, Mikasa isn't to blame. Iren, I don't want to talk, I'm going to sleep, getting up from the table under the watchful gaze of all his companions, especially that of the Uzumaki. Naruto, I didn't think you were someone who would give up so easily. Everyone held their breath upon hearing the Uzumaki's words. Iren stopped abruptly, clenching his fists. Iren, shut up, frowning angrily. Naruto, you're leaving and giving up. Where's your willpower? Didn't you want to wipe out all the Titans? Where's the Iren Jaeger I knew? The brunette turned around, furious, his fists clenched. Iren, shut up, you don't know anything about me. I don't need your stupid pity or anyone else's. Mikasa / Armin, Iren looking at her friend sadly. Naruto, I'm not pitying you, I'm just telling you the truth, seriously. Iren, good night, proceeding to go to sleep. Naruto, you give up. Then it won't be worth helping you. The brunette stopped abruptly and turned away. Iren, help me. Naruto, unlike the others, I've noticed a couple of things, and one of them is that you have a lot of talent, even if you don't realize it, taking his apple and taking a bite. Iren, and the other one. Naruto, start by apologizing to Mikachin, eat and then come with me. The brunette blushed as she saw the boy with lively blue eyes defending her. Iren calmed down and approached the table again. Iren, I'm sorry Mikasa, I was really angry and I took it out on you, and Naruto very embarrassed. Mikasa, no, it doesn't matter. Iren, sit down and eat something. The brunette obeyed his sister and proceeded to eat his soup to the smiles of everyone present. Mikasa turned her head to look at the blonde boy who was already finishing his apple. Thank you very much, Naruto-kun. Everyone's eyes widened in surprise, including the blonde boys, upon hearing the affectionate nickname. Naruto, no, it was nothing, Mikachin. Looking away, slightly blushing, increasing the anger of the girls who were astonished by the sweet moment between the two. Sasha's POV, you're gaining ground, Mika, but I won't give up. Krista POV, it's not fair, crying comically. Emir POV, damn you Mikasa, this won't end like this. She crossed her arms in annoyance. Carolina POV, good move Mikasa, but there's still a long way to go before you defeat me. Looking at her with rivalry. Annie, Tusk finishing her food and getting up to leave. Reinur, do you know what's been going on with him lately? Looking at his brown-haired friend. Berthold, I don't know, but something tells me it has something to do with him, discreetly glancing at Uzumaki. Once the chestnut-tired man had finished dinner, Naruto got up from the table, as did Iren. Mikasa and Armin also got up, but they were stopped by the blue-eyed man. Naruto, I don't usually like to ask for things, but this time I'd prefer if you left us alone. Mikasa, but... Naruto, please. Ackerman blushed and nodded, sitting back down. Thank you very much, good night everyone, see you tomorrow. Minutes later, Naruto and Iren were in the training field with their equipment on. The blonde used his correctly and stuck to the wall. Iren tried to do the same, however, he failed again and ended up hanging from one of the cables. Iren, damn it. I almost had it this time, slowly descending to the ground just like the blonde. Naruto, don't shout so much, I don't want shaddies to come out and yell at us. Iren, gomnasai. Naruto, okay, let's try again, take a good look at my posture. The shinobi slightly bent his knees and deployed the cables, then immediately propelled himself up the wall. Iren, I can do it. Copying his friend's stance, the brunette threw the cables, which embedded themselves in the wood, and propelled himself forward, landing on the wall. However, one of the cables came loose and he plummeted for a few seconds. Luckily, the other tether was firmly secured and prevented a disaster. Damn, I almost had it. Naruto, little by little, let's try again. The green-eyed boy nodded and they went down again to try their luck again. A few meters away, behind some boxes, Mikasa watched them both with a small smile on her face. Mikasa, you can do it. Iren, Mika, what are you doing here? The girl jumped, trying not to scream in surprise. Sorry if I scared you, said the brunette, a lover of all kinds of food, kneeling beside her and watching the two boys taste it again and again. Naruto is a very good boy. Mikasa, yes, watching the blonde boy encourage Iren with every attempt without losing his smile. He is special too, don't forget about being handsome. 3. It looks good enough to eat. Sasha, you what are you doing here? Looking at Krista, Carolina, and Emir. Emir, isn't it logical? We're here for the same reason as you and her. Kneeling down like the others. Carolina, do you think I managed to get Iren to drive the EMT well? Krista, both he and Naruto are putting in a lot of effort, I trust him. In Uzumaki, the five of them gave a start comparable only to the one Mikasa had had moments before. Ymir, Leonhardt looking at her suspiciously. Annie, huh. While the girls watched them, Naruto had climbed to the top of the practice wall. Naruto, come on Iren, try to get up here in less than a minute. The brunette nodded from below. Iren, this is the one. The brunette tried again, giving it his all. He deployed the cables and flew to the wall, sticking to it. He ran across the wooden surface and jumped to propel himself higher. When he was almost at the top, the grips broke, causing the boy to fall into the void. Naruto, Iren. Leaping towards him, the blonde gritted his teeth trying to grab him. Their hands brushed against each other, but he couldn't grab him. The nosy girls opened their eyes in fright. I have no other choice. Shit, the blonde disappeared in a reddish flash, just like Iren, only to reappear on the ground with him in his arms to the surprise of the Jaeger and the girls. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 7. The chestnut-tired boy dropped to his knees, feeling very dizzy and worse. He didn't know what the hell had just happened. A moment ago he was falling from an impressive height, and in the blink of an eye he was on the ground with Naruto. The girls were in the same state as the young boy. Sasha, he disappeared, with her mouth open in disbelief at what she had just seen. Ymir, what the hell just happened, just as surprised as her companion. Carolina, what the hell? Krista, I'm dreaming, it can't be, rubbing her eyes. Annie's POV, it can't be, thinking, very scared. He's that guy who almost killed Reinur in his Titan form, sweating profusely. What the hell are you, Uzumaki? Naruto, extremely dismayed. Mikasa, for her part, could not utter a word. She was very surprised, but also very grateful that the Uzumaki had saved her brother Iren from almost certain death. At this moment, the brunette was trying to stand up, looking at the blonde with disbelief. Iren, what happened? What did you do? Why aren't we dead? Raising his voice slightly so the spies could hear him clearly. Naruto, calm down and don't shout. The important thing is that you're okay, quite serious. Iren, yes, but how? He seriously questioned his friend. Naruto POV, shit, what the hell do I do now? Kurama, what should I do? Kurama, you know your little friends are behind that pile of boxes several meters away from here, right? Naruto POV. Yes, I know, I sensed them shortly after we started, and I also know that Anachin is with them, damn it. She won't take long to tell the other two, but the most important thing now is he couldn't finish formulating his concern to the enormous beast, as it responded with boredom. Kurama, ask the brat for time, tell him you'll tell him when you finish training in the time that remains, think very carefully about what you're going to tell him and what you're not going to, yawning with boredom. Naruto's POV, yes, that'll be best, thanks Kurama. Iren, Naruto. Hey, snapping his fingers in front of his eyes, the person in question blinked a couple of times, ending the internal conversation with his demonic tenant. Naruto, what, is something wrong? Looking at him seriously. Iren, you were stunned. I was asking you to explain what happened and how you did whatever it was you did to save me. Naruto, we'll do this. Iren, I haven't known you for very long, but I already consider you a good friend. Placing a hand on his shoulder. When we finish training, I'll tell you. I give you my word, and let me make this perfectly clear. I never break my promises, okay? Offering his hand as a sign of friendship and to seal the agreement, the brunette thought about it for a few moments, but in the end he accepted. Iren, so be it, receiving a smile from his friend, which he returned. And thank you for saving my life, I owe you two now. Naruto, relax, you don't have to thank me. I'll always be there for my friends. Letting go of his hand. Oh, one last little thing, please don't tell anyone about this. Iren, my lips are sealed. They'll get something out of a dead man before they get it out of me, I promise you. With a deep conviction in his words that pleased the Jinchuriki. Naruto, so be it, looking at the brunette's 3D maneuver gear. By the way, do you want me to tell you what else I noticed? Approaching the green-eyed boy with his arms crossed. Iren, tell me, eager to know. Naruto, your EMT was in bad condition since you took it. Honestly, it's a miracle you were able to accomplish anything with that piece of junk. The brunette opened his mouth in surprise and immediately smiled. Iren, that means, looking at his equipment with a huge grin of happiness on his face. Naruto, exactly, you have a lot of talent, and if you couldn't use your equipment properly, it's simply because it was broken. Smiling as did his friend. Iren, oh god, going from happiness to absolute terror. Instructor Shadis is going to kill me when he sees the state I've left the EMT in, falling to his knees on the ground, paler than a mountaintop after a heavy snowfall. Naruto, relax, let's do this, taking off his device and leaving it on the ground. Take mine, I'll deal with Shadis tomorrow. The brunette opened his eyes, shaking his head. Iren, no way, don't you know how he'll react? I can't accept it, deeply grateful to his friend for the gesture but completely reluctant to sacrifice him for his own good. Naruto, whatever, then tomorrow I'll beat him up in front of that bald guy and believe me, I'm going to destroy him. Smiling just like Iren because of the way he had addressed the grumpy instructor. Far from there, the girls tried to listen to the conversation of those two without much success. Krista, why did Naruto leave his equipment on the ground? Intrigued to know what was happening. Carolina, maybe he's tired and it bothered him to carry it around. That contraption weighs quite a lot, the brunette said, thinking of the most logical explanation. Sasha, maybe. Emir, oh come on. After doing 2,000 push-ups, falling from a height of over 10 meters without a scratch and teleporting or whatever it was he did, how could he possibly be tired of wearing that? The freckled girl said, pondering. Sasha, you have a point there. Annie, she's offering her EMT to Jaeger. The others turn to look at the blonde, confused. Krista, why would I do something like that? Bringing her hand to her chin, trying to think of a reason why the blonde shinobi would do such a thing. Annie, Jaeger's equipment was in bad condition, that's why he failed so many times using it, and that's why he fell both times Uzumaki saved him. Looking at the two boys in the middle of the practice field, all the others did the same. Carolina, but if Naruto gives his equipment to Eren, what will happen to him? Annie, we won't know that until tomorrow when Instructor Shadis finds out. They all remembered their instructor's threatening words and felt a great chill. Mikasa, Naruto, you care about others even when you get into trouble. You have a big heart. Watching as her brother picked up the device from the blonde boy and put it on. Emir, that's why I like it so much. With a half smile, Krista, shut up. Emir, annoyed and jealous. Emir, shut up, dwarf. They both glared at each other angrily, sparks flying from their eyes. Sasha, don't start arguing now. They're going to hear us. Peeking her head out a little above the boxes to make sure the two boys hadn't noticed her presence. Mikasa, let's go now. We need to be rested for tomorrow and avoid being discovered because of these two. Krista/Emir, Tusk, turning their faces away and crossing their arms, annoyed with each other. The girls left slowly and silently, but two of them turned back, each with different thoughts. Mikasa POV. Thanks, Naruto, maybe blushing like a tomato. I'll listen to Eren, referring to the hints her brother had dropped in the dining room. Annie POV. Uzumaki, Naruto, you're very interesting. After this last look at the two young men, the two girls walked until they were alongside the rest of their companions, leaving now the two of them alone. Naruto, now try climbing to the top of the wall. The brunette nodded, and after a few seconds he was at the top of the wall, smiling excitedly. Eren POV. I did it, raising his arms as a symbol of victory. Naruto, that's the way, kid, good job, he muttered to himself, picking up the EMT from the green-eyed man to take it to the barracks. The brunette got out and approached the blonde man to pat him on the back. Eren, thank you so much for trusting me, for helping me, and for saving my life. Naruto, don't give them up. I'd do it again, smiling at his friend warmly, receiving a smile in return. Let's go, or at this rate, dawn will break before we know it. And so, they both went to the boys' dorm to get some sleep. Tomorrow would be a new day. Night gave way to day. Everyone woke up very early to have a leisurely breakfast. They grabbed their gear and left the dormitories after tidying their cots. In just a few minutes, the dining hall was full of cadets eagerly eating their breakfast. And no wonder, they knew from experience that a long and grueling training session awaited them under the instruction of Shadis, who would show no mercy to any of them. Once breakfast was finished and the plates cleared, everyone left the building for the training field. There, Shadis awaited them with his arms behind his back in an authoritarian gesture. In a few seconds they were all in formation. Shadis, all right, trash. Today I will test your skills with the three-dimensional equipment. Anyone who fails to complete the course I will show you will be out, and I will not give second chances. Is that clear? Observing each and every one of them, but more specifically Eren, who swallowed nervously. Everyone, sir, yes sir, shouting in unison. It was at that moment that the Uzumaki raised his hand, drawing the attention of the bald man and the rest of his companions. Shadis, Uzumaki, the bald man shouted, Naruto, sir. I must inform you that my EMT is in very bad condition and doesn't work, sir. Everyone opened their eyes in fear, especially Eren and the girls who knew what had happened that same night. The already dangerous expression of the veteran soldier turned furious, causing cold sweats to spread among more than one of those present. Shadis, what did you say? Step forward, rat. The blonde obeyed, leaving the group and standing 2 meters away from his superior. Keith Shadis slowly advanced towards him like a predator stalking its prey. He checked and confirmed that indeed the device was broken. Surprisingly, he didn't scream. He spoke very calmly, which, to be honest, was even more terrifying than his screams. Yesterday your equipment was working perfectly. Remember what I said about those who damaged their devices? The blonde nodded, very serious. Good, well, believe me, you won't forget what's going to happen, Cadet Arlet. The boy stepped forward. Armin, sir. Shadis approached the young man and whispered something in his ear. Poor Armin's eyes widened in shock. The instructor took out some keys and handed them to him. Shadis, is it clear what you have to do, you piece of shit? Shouting in his face. Armin, yes sir. Shadis, well, go and get me what I asked for. Don't even think about taking more than 5 minutes. Come on, move it. The boy ran off towards the barracks while the rest stared ahead in fear, except for Annie, Reinur, and Berthold. Shadis looked at the blonde shinobi for a few moments. Now you'll see why there's such a thing as discipline. I want you to see what I'm going to do to this scum, and remember for the rest of your disgusting existence that orders are to be obeyed. Is that clear? Everyone, sir. Yes, sir. Armin came running back carrying something in his hands. Nobody knew what the hell it was until Shadis extended it, generating a deafening snap. Eren POV, awe whip, swallowing saliva in horror. Krista POV, oh god no, trying to maintain her composure and not cry. Emir POV, you damn bastard, clenching her teeth with rage and helplessness. Sasha's POV, Naruto please hold on, feeling her throat dry out and begin to hurt. Carolina POV, I can't look, looking down at the ground. Mikasa POV, Naruto hold on please, putting her hand on her heart that threatened to break into 1,000 pieces. Annie POV, in the end, in this world those with noble intentions end up suffering, observing the boy with his back to her with a lump in her throat. Shaddy's scum, looking at Naruto with contempt. Take off your jacket and shirt now. The blue-eyed boy obeyed without a word, getting rid of his upper clothing. Cadet Arlet, Armin sir. Shaddy's tie his hands. The boy walked sadly towards his companion, looked him in the eyes as he began to tie his hands. Armin, I'm so sorry. Naruto, making sure the tie was properly done. Naruto, don't worry, I'll be fine. Smiling sincerely at his friend who had to summon all his strength to avoid bursting into tears right there. Shaddy's on your knees now, scum. Again the Jinchuriki obeyed, letting himself fall before the frightened and sad looks of his companions. Naruto POV, Kurama don't heal me this time, sighing resignedly. Kurama, as you wish, good luck. Shaddy's not one of you dares to look away. If you do, I'll give you 10 more lashes for every time I see one of you do it. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 8. The sound of the whip striking flesh echoed throughout the enclosure. Naruto clenched his teeth, trying not to scream in pain as he felt the stinging, tingling, and hot wetness of blood run down his back. Another crack of the whip was heard, then another, and another. His companions stared at him, putting all their strength into not taking their eyes off him, especially the girls and his friends. Shaddy's, this will teach you, giving him another blow not to disobey, hitting him again in order. Taking a running start to give him another one, this time with more force. Naruto, ah! The boy screamed loudly, breathing heavily as drops of sweat began to trickle down his forehead. All the girls except Annie's POV, Naruto, hang in there trying to keep their heads up. Iren POV, I'm sorry, it's my fault, I shouldn't have taken your EMT, damn it. Clenching his teeth and fists due to the helplessness and frustration he felt. Another sharp blow hammered their hearts, blood gushed down the blonde boy's back through the numerous cuts that were beginning to appear there. The fox boy was breathing with difficulty as he felt his legs begin to go numb, bringing with them a very uncomfortable sensation to endure in his lower body. Shaddy's, don't you dare faint, or I'll whip you until you wake up and start all over again, you hear me, you piece of shit, the instructor roared, hitting him again. Naruto, sir, yes sir, ah, being hit again. Shaddy's, I can't hear you, you damned human scum, scream louder, you piece of trash, whipping him with rage and speed. Scream. Scream. Scream, he threw the bald man into the air, completely out of his mind, whipping him with all the fury he could muster. Naruto, sir, yes sir. The blonde boy threw himself into the air with all his might, feeling his back sting as he noticed his pants beginning to soak with blood. The minutes passed very slowly. The prevailing silence was only broken by the infamous sound of the whip crashing against the back of the blue-eyed boy, which was raw with many cuts and lacerations that oozed blood and the occasional piece of flesh or skin. After an hour of torment and torture, Shaddy's was satisfied, picking up his whip, which was completely stained with blood. Naruto groaned in pain, losing the little strength he had left, falling face down on the ground, remaining motionless before the eyes of his companions. Krista POV. It's finally over, feeling her eyes well up with tears and the overwhelming urge to run to her friend to help him. Mikasa POV. Naruto wishing to run towards him to help him, a thought shared by all the girls and the shinobi's friends, including Annie Leonhardt, who was still suffering from an unpleasant lump in her throat. Shaddy's, listen up, you scum. Everyone present stiffened. I'm going to test your EMT skills. Those who don't complete the course or finish within the time limit are out. Jaeger. The one addressed swallowed hard, taking a step forward. You'll start. Remember what I told you yesterday? The brunette nodded, getting into position. In front of him was the enormous wooden wall where he had practiced yesterday with his blonde friend. Next to it were a series of platforms with obstacles, and finally, a huge mast with a sack tied to the top back, simulating a titan. Shaddy's, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to complete the course. The instructor was about to give the signal for the green-eyed boy to begin, but something caught his attention and that of the rest of the cadets. Naruto Uzumaki had gotten up from the ground and was looking at Iren with a smile on his face. Sasha's POV, he got up, swallowing hard, very surprised by that. Emir POV, you're tough, blondie, thank goodness, with relief. Carolina POV, Naruto, how far are you capable of going? That was the question the dark-haired woman asked herself. Krista's POV, no, Naruto, don't get up, I don't want them to hurt you anymore, the little blonde begged in her mind, wishing that the boy hadn't gotten up from the ground. Mikasa's POV, damn it, Naruto, don't be an idiot, I don't want you to get hurt anymore, the scarf-wearing recruit agreed with the dwarf in her thoughts as she watched her blonde friend with concern. Annie's POV, you're brave, Uzumaki, or maybe you're just an idiot. Shaddy's, you walking towards the blonde boy to punch him hard in the face. To his own surprise and that of the others, Naruto didn't fall to the ground. He remained standing, his smile unwavering, which enraged Shadis even more. Are you mocking me? He landed another punch, this time to the stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Stay on the ground. He kneed him in the lower abdomen, intending to bring him down. However, the boy remained upright, much to the surprise of his companions. Shadis huffed in annoyance, glaring at them. What the hell are you looking at? Get back to practicing. As soon as I'm done with this piece of shit, you'll all be sorry. Everyone swallowed hard and broke ranks to start using their EMTs. Uzumaki's friends glanced at him every now and then, hoping the instructor would tire and leave him alone. Blow after blow, the bald man seemed to tire more, and to make matters worse, the Jinchuriki absorbed the blows, staggering but without falling even once. Damn it, how can you? He punched him again in the chin. Still standing, he tried to recover some of his lost energy. The boy spat a little blood onto the ground, staring him straight in the eyes. Naruto, it's very simple. No, I'm not afraid of you, and I'm certainly not going to let a few lashes and a couple of punches stop me from passing the test and protecting my friends from the Titans. Shadis said nothing. He simply held his gaze for a few moments before turning around and walking away towards where the rest of the recruits were practicing. Shadis, Ackerman. Mikasa stopped what she was doing and approached her superior with a light and nervous step. Mikasa, sir. Standing up straight in front of the grumpy instructor. Shadis, go to the warehouse and get an EMT for your partner. Mikasa nodded and left, but not before glancing at the blonde boy with a smile that made her blush. A few minutes later, Mikasa returned with the equipment and took the opportunity to approach the boy who was still standing in the same spot. Naruto, thank you so much. Mikachin the brunette put the EMT down and hugged him without saying a word. Are you okay, Mika? He couldn't finish because Ackerman silenced him with her own lips, much to the surprise of the Konohanan and the male cadets and the indignation of the rest of the girls who had just been staring at them when they saw the dark-haired girl return. Mikasa, Baka pressing her face to the Jinchuriki's chest, unable to resist the urge to cry any longer. Naruto, Mikachin, look at me. The girl shook her head, crying into his chest, tightening her embrace. Look at me, please. Mikasa reluctantly obeyed, lifting her face. Their eyes met, falling into an almost romantic silence that lasted a few seconds. I'm fine. I'd rather it had been me who went through all this than it had been Iren. Mikasa, Baka, you're reckless. Thank you so much. You have a big heart, touching the boy's chest with one of her hands. Naruto, I'll tell you something. Mikachin tenderly caressing her cheek, the woman instinctively closed her beautiful eyes and enjoyed the pleasant touch of his skin, blushing deeply. I'd do anything for a kiss from you. Mikasa, what are you saying? Baka, she hid her head back in the chest of the boy who placed his hand on it to caress it affectionately. The other girls gritted their teeth with anger. Emir, tusk, damn Mikasa, some people have all the luck, watching them from the top of the wooden wall. Sasha, now I really don't have a chance to get close to him, crying comically while biting into a piece of bread. Krista, well, step aside, I won't give up. With a serious and determined expression, Krista Lentz would fight to the end to be with her platonic love. Emir, well, I won't do it either, dwarf. He climbed down from the top of the wall with an annoyed expression. Krista, I'll crush both you and Mikasa, starting a high-voltage staring contest against the freckled girl. Carolina, don't forget about me, I won't make it easy for you, puffing out her chest with pride. Sasha, not even me finishing her meal, fire crackling in her eyes, I'd rather die than leave it to one of you. Emir, say that again, you bun eater. Putting aside her argument with the short blonde to confront the food lover. Sasha, repeat what you just called me, pimple face. They both bumped foreheads, glaring at each other angrily. Carolina had the bun-eater and the pimple-faced one, laughing maliciously. Sasha/Emir, you shut up. While the girls fought amongst themselves, causing huge drops of sweat to form on the men who didn't hesitate to move away from them, Annie Leonhardt kept her gaze fixed on the Uzumaki and the Ackerman. Reinur and Berthold saw her standing there with her usual seriousness etched on her face. However, something told them, implored them not to approach her, no matter how vital the matter. The blonde averted her gaze from the romantic duo and walked with a certain haste in the direction of the barracks, the place where Instructor Shadis had gone to leave the whip. Reinur, where is she going? Watching his companion walk away briskly. Berthold, isn't it obvious? Go find Instructor Shadis, and I have two theories, touching his chin. The first is that she's tired of practicing here, and the other, he didn't need to finish speaking for his shapeshifting comrade to understand what he meant. Reinur, damn, after what she told us about him. Looking at the couple, I hope she doesn't ruin the whole plan all because of some stupid mistake. I thought she wasn't a problem, but now we'll have to keep an eye on her too. Berthold, you don't trust Annie. Reinur, if there's one thing that's certain in this life, it's that you can never trust anyone blindly. If you think there's no risk of betrayal, just pretend I didn't say anything. For my part, I'll be more cautious from now on. Our mission is faltering by the minute and we can't fail. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 9. Annie Leonhardt returned a few minutes later, followed by the instructor. Automatically, the girls stopped fighting and the couple separated to approach the rest of their companions. Shaddies looked at the blonde with a little respect and proceeded to say, Shaddies, I'm going to cut your rope so you can put on your equipment. The blonde man shook his head, surprising everyone present. Naruto, relax, I can do it myself. The boy exerted a little force and the restraints broke, freeing his arms. Iren, damn it. Staring with his mouth open like the others, the blue-eyed young man put on his equipment and waited patiently while Shaddies launched into his little speech about the tests again. Now Iren would be the first. The brunette positioned himself at the starting point, waiting for the instructor's signal, who held an hourglass as a stopwatch. The signal was given, and the green-eyed boy propelled himself to the top of the enormous wooden wall, then crossed the platforms, dodging the obstacles, and finally cut the sack of straw that was on top of the enormous wooden pillar. Shaddies, good job, Jaeger, you did it with a quarter of the time to spare. Return to your place next. One by one, everyone took the test. A few of them failed and were therefore expelled. After several minutes, it was Uzumaki's turn, who calmly took his place at the starting point. The three shifter titans paid attention. They wanted to see what their enemy was capable of and therefore know how careful they should be. The rest, in particular the girls and the blonde's friends, wished with all their hearts that the injuries would not cause him any problems in the test. Naruto. When you tell me, bending his knees, Shaddies waited a few moments for the hourglass to empty and gave the signal just as he turned it over. Naruto shot out against the wooden wall. Taking advantage of the inertia, he had to propel himself off it and reach the platforms, which were overcome with great agility as well as all the obstacles without needing to use his EMT. Finally, he propelled himself to the top of the mast, giving it a tremendous cut that cut the sack and the wooden trunk to which he was tied. Iren/Armin, what the hell? Eyes wide, Marco/Connie, he cut it all off, with jaws feeling the floor. Sasha, I can't believe it, watching the young man descend from the enormous pole at the same time as the huge piece of wood. Mikasa, Naruto, that's how it's done. Surprised. Yes, but with a big smile on her face. Shaddies, it can't be, looking at his stopwatch in fear. You completed the test in record time. Krista, amazing, Naruto is so strong, with stars in her eyes. Ymir, now it's really happening, he has to be mine no matter what. The others looked at her sideways with annoyance. Krista/Sasha/Carolina/Mikasa POV, not even in your wildest dreams. On the other hand, Reinur and Berthold were very scared after seeing what the golden-haired shinobi was capable of. Reinur's POV, so Annie was right after all, observing the blonde, who remained stoic but with a slight surprise on her face. Damn, we're walking into the lion's den, that was all the armored titan user could think. Naruto, did I do it right? The bald man looked at him, unsure what to say. I'll take the silence as a yes. Smiling contentedly, he walked towards the rest of his companions who were still staring at him, unable to get over their astonishment. Shaddies, break ranks. I need to speak with Commander Pixis about your results, or rather to speak with the commander about a particular cadet. Without waiting any longer, the guy walked away from them, heading towards headquarters. The huge crowd formed immediately. Everyone, and when I say everyone, I mean everyone, surrounded the poor blue-eyed boy who didn't know where to hide. Kurama. And voila, the facade is over. Good job, brat, couldn't you do it like the others? You had to stand out. I knew you could do it. That attracting attention is beyond. The imposing tailed beast complained in the middle of the enormous green meadow, being ignored by its host, since he had other more important problems than dealing with a giant creature with powers beyond the logic of a normal human being. Naruto, calm down, asking his companions to remain calm. Armin, how did you do that, Naruto? After what the instructor did to you? Connie, exactly, tell us, how the hell did you manage to make him get tired of beating you up and then you destroyed us all in the test? Naruto, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a shower and bandage my wounds before they get infected. Iren, but... Naruto, please let me pass. The blonde boy proceeded to leave for the barracks under the watchful gaze of everyone present. Armin, always so secretive. Ymir, that makes him more attractive, crossing her arms with a smile. Sasha, Krista, where are you going? Looking at the short girl trying to sneak away without attracting attention. Krista, this I not knowing what to say. Ymir, you're up to something, shorty. I can feel it getting dangerously close to the blonde who didn't know how to get out of it. Krista, don't come near me, Ymir. Ymir, and what will you do if I do it? The blonde started running, pursued by the freckled girl, causing a large drop of sweat to form on the faces of the others. Mikasa, Iren, is there a first aid kit in your barracks? She asked the green-eyed boy who had stopped paying attention to the running around of the two women. Iren, yes, why? Realizing, oh, I know what you want to do, don't take advantage of him, with a mischievous look that didn't amuse any of the women in the slightest. Mikasa, shut up, with a deep blush covering her entire cheeks. Carolina, that wasn't funny. Iren, annoyed. Sasha, Mika, staring intently at her friend. Because of your brother, I'm not going to leave you alone with Naruto. The girl in question glared angrily at the brunette, who raised his hands, fearful of suffering reprisals. Iren, sorry, I said it without thinking, sweating profusely. Annie, you always speak without thinking, the female Titan user added, having approached them after hearing about Ackerman's plans to be alone with the lucky Konohanan. Naruto entered the showers and proceeded to remove his pants and underwear. He had picked up his shirt and jacket from the floor after escaping his admirers. He examined his back as best he could in the mirror, confirming what he already knew: it was a disgusting mess. Wounds, blood, sweat, and a bit of dirt were perfectly mixed into an unhealthy concoction. Naruto, if it weren't for the fact that I've been beaten much worse than this, I wouldn't have even been able to get up off the ground. Touching one of his cracks, feeling a stinging sensation. Kurama, brat. Naruto POV, no Kurama, I don't want you to heal my wounds yet, but thank you for your concern, with a big smile. Kurama, shut up, you attention-seeking brat. The boy raised an eyebrow, confused. I wasn't going to say anything about getting cured, but since you mention it, what's the point if you've practically shouted from the rooftops that you're a freak? Naruto POV, oh come on Kurama, it's not that big of a deal getting into one of the showers and turning on the hot water to start washing. Kurama, it's not that big of a deal, you only forgot to summon me. Naruto POV, since the night I used the Flying Thunder God technique to save Eren, I can no longer keep my secrets, at least the basic ones, feeling the warm water cleanse and relax him. Besides, it's like you said, I like to attract attention, for better or for worse, it's something I can't help. Kurama, you'll see, brat standing out isn't always a good thing. Naruto POV, come on, stop being so cautious. Anyway, there's no one who can overshadow us after we killed that bastard, remembering Sasuke Uchiha with hatred. Kurama, you're right about that, brat, but next time don't ask me for advice if you're just going to do whatever you want afterward. The blonde severed the mental connection with the demon and stepped out of the shower, drying himself with a towel. He paid special attention to his back for obvious reasons. It wasn't that he was particularly worried about hurting himself more, he simply wanted to avoid making a mess of everything. He walked half-naked to the first aid kit he had mounted on the wall and opened it. To his surprise, it was almost empty. There was no disinfectant, painkillers, and certainly no bandages, gauze, or anything else that could cover his wounds. Naruto, great, walking towards the clean clothes area, grabbing an outfit in his size. I'll put on the pants, but the shirt, I don't want to have to throw it away in 2 minutes. With that, he half-dressed, leaving the bathroom and bumping into Eren, Armin, Connie, Marco, Thomas, Rionur, Berthold, and the others. Oh hey guys, do you know why the first aid kit is almost empty? They all looked at each other with a little laughter, remembering what had happened shortly after the blonde boy entered the showers. Eren, well, you see, the thing is, Connie, the girls fought over who would bandage your wounds. How I envy you in that, senpai. The bald man replied, cutting Eren off. Armin, the thing is, since they couldn't make up their minds, they ended up coming here and getting everything they needed to fix you up. They're waiting for you in the dining room. If I were you, I wouldn't keep them waiting. Naruto, oh wow, I guess I'll head over there. See you later. Everyone said goodbye to the Uzumaki, who walked calmly to the dining room, where he was greeted with penetrating stares from the girls who were waiting for him, seated at a table with everything necessary to properly treat his wounds. Hi girls, a little nervous because of how they were looking at him. Mikasa, sit here. Naruto, the blonde boy, obeyed without hesitation, taking a seat next to Mikasa. The brunette and the rest of the girls began to thoroughly clean his wounds, disinfecting them before proceeding to bandage them. Naruto, thank you so much, you're the best, smiling at them all in his own unique way, causing a succession of blushes. Sasha, don't give them to me, Naruto, I'll gladly heal any wounds you get, the brunette said with a small smile. Krista, I hope it doesn't hurt, with concern. Naruto, relax Kristashin, this is nothing, I've come out of worse. Kurama, big mouth. Mikasa, how, finishing bandaging the lumbar area. Naruto, nothing, I spoke too much, biting his lower lip because of the blunder he had just made. Ymir, what are you hiding from us? Naruto, getting dangerously close to his face. Annie, she'll speak when she thinks it's the right time. Suddenly stepping between the freckled girl and the shinobi. Ymir, but you'll be looking away in annoyance. Naruto, I hope the bald guy gives us the go-ahead tomorrow so we don't have to waste time here, trying to change the subject. Carolina, he left in a great hurry to talk to Commander Pixis, that's good, isn't it? Annie, oh bad, sitting down in the empty space that Krista had just left free to go get some water for the blonde, the place was the other one that was next to the lucky one. Sasha, explain yourself, ignoring the fact that the blonde had already taken the vacant spot on Uzumaki's left side. Annie, have you already forgotten what happened during Uzumaki's test? Naruto, what's wrong with my test? I know I went a little overboard, but come on. Mikasa, what Leonhardt means, Naruto, is that Shadis was probably so impressed with your abilities that he went to speak to the commander, using the test results as an excuse. Naruto, in that case we'll wait and see what happens tomorrow, getting up from the spot. Carolina, what are you doing? Baka, moving instinctively. Naruto, well, let's go get some food, I'm hungry. Sasha instinctively stood next to him, grabbing his arm, much to the annoyance of the others. Sasha, me too, shall we go get dinner together? Not being aware of what she was doing, because when the brunette heard the words hunger and food in the same sentence, she completely lost control over her actions. Naruto, yais, of course, Sasha-chan. They both went to get their respective plates. The food lover turned her face to the others and stuck her tongue out mischievously. She may not have hugged or kissed him like Mikasa, but that little dispute she had won. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 10. Dinner passed without incident, although the girls glared daggers at Sasha for daring to take the blonde boy's arm and lead him away. There wasn't much exchange of words, mostly insults between them. The bowls of soup were quickly finished and the cadets were off to bed even sooner. Far from the barracks at headquarters, Shadys was still waiting for Commander Pixis to finish his meeting with the other high-ranking officers so he could grant him an audience. Everyone knew the bald former commander of the reconnaissance brigade wasn't fond of waiting, but the chain of command was the chain of command. As a soldier, and even more so as a staunch believer in military discipline, he knew it was his duty to be patient and wait. After a few hours, the office doors opened and a large group of people emerged. Shadys waited until they had all left and then knocked, awaiting a response. Pixis, a rather mature man, also bald and with a gray mustache, replied. Shadys entered the office, observing the commander seated behind his enormous desk. "Oh, Instructor Shadys, I suppose you bring me the results of our new soldiers," not giving much importance to the visit of the also veteran and of course also bald instructor. "Shadys, Commander, I have something, or rather someone that will surely catch your attention. Seriously. Pixis, I don't know, I've lived a long time and I've seen many good soldiers devoured by the Titans." Shadys, the cadet in question, broke the time record on the circuit, and not only that, he crossed the platforms and dodged the obstacles without using his equipment, and to finish, he cut the wooden mast in one stroke, as if it were butter. Pixis, interesting, and the name of the recruit in question is, a little interested. Shadys, I haven't told you everything yet, my commander. Pixis, is there more, raising an eyebrow. Shadys, the cadet broke his EMT before the test. As punishment I whipped him until I was tired. The mustachioed man brought his hand to his chin with even more interest in knowing the identity of what already seemed like a prodigy of those that appear once after long periods of time. The bastard had the balls to get up after I had given him more than 50 lashes. I tried to hit him to put him in his place, but there was no way to knock him to the ground. Pixis, the boy has a great willpower. That's something that's scarce in our ranks. Can you tell me his name? Shadys, Uzumaki Naruto, my commander, is by far the best in this class and perhaps the best since that brat Levi Ackerman entered the academy. Pixis, in that case I'd like to speak with him personally. As soon as I have a free moment I'll send you the order to bring him before me. The instructor nodded, giving a small bow. Or perhaps I'll stop by to see him, who knows? The veteran commander murmured thoughtfully. Shadys, as you prefer, Commander. With your permission I will withdraw. Keith Shadys left the office slowly, leaving the commander deep in thought. Pixis POV, a new prodigy, rising from his chair to look at the walled city through the enormous window of his office. Naruto Uzumaki will see if you can stay alive in this cruel world we were born into. In one of the hallways leading to the bedrooms, two people were talking to each other in whispers. Reinur will act tomorrow, you know what you have to do. Berthold nodded. Berthold, are you sure? Reinur, yes, we graduate tomorrow and will be assigned to squads. Both you and I will be joining the military police. Annie prefers the Survey Corps, though I don't know if she's doing it to keep a close eye on Uzumaki or because he's no longer trustworthy. Berthold, don't say that. You know perfectly well that she has as much at stake as we do. If you want to leave her out of this, fine, but I ask you please not to doubt her. She is a powerful ally. The armored Titan user sighed wearily. Reinur, I already told you that you can trust her completely. I, for my part, will be cautious now. Focus on the plan. As soon as we break ranks, find the right moment to leave without the others suspecting anything, especially Uzumaki. If anyone notices you're gone, I'll cover your back with a believable excuse. The important thing is that you reach the most vulnerable area of Wall Rose and bring it down. The Titans and I will do the rest. Do you have any questions? Berthold, when the blonde crossed his arms, waiting for his comrade to inform him about this. If Uzumaki faces you or me with a little fear, remembering that day in the Shiganshina district 5 long years ago. Reinur, if that happens, we'll attack the only weakness we know he has. Berthold, his friends and the girls, right? That's what Annie told us. Reinur, that's right. Good luck tomorrow, putting his hand on his friend's shoulder, trying to give him confidence. Irene, what are you still doing outside? Said the brunette in his underwear who had just finished brushing his teeth. Reinur, holy shit. Startled, don't just appear out of nowhere like that. Irene, but I didn't yell or anything to scare you so much. Berthold, you know how he is, Irene, he's even afraid of his own shadow, with a small, nervous smile. Irene, yeah, well, I don't know how you endured Shadys' screams without shitting yourself, with a half-smile. Reinur, stop it, both of you, clenching his fist angrily. Connie, stop shouting, we're trying to sleep, said the bald man with a sleepy face, peeking through the doorway that led to the bedrooms. The three, sorry. The next morning, everyone jumped up, and it was no wonder. Today was their graduation day, leaving the academy behind, and best of all, they'd never see Keith Shadys again. Sorry, I couldn't resist that joke. They all dressed in a flash and headed to the dining hall for breakfast. Naruto just smiled at the girls whenever they approached him, but deep down he had a bad feeling. He glanced at the other table where Annie, Berthold, and Reinur usually sat. The latter too returned his gaze, creating a rather awkward moment between them. "Mikasa, Naruto, is something wrong? You're very quiet." The boy stopped looking at his two companions to focus his attention on the brunette. "Naruto, oh yeah, I was just a little stunned, forgive me." Mikasa, it's okay, biting her lower lip, a little nervous. "Naruto, is something bothering you, Mikachin?" The girl blushed deeply, which gave the other girls at the table a bad feeling. "Are you okay?" touching her forehead. "You're very red, playing dumb so as not to embarrass poor Ackerman." The others, meanwhile, ate with their eyes fixed on the two of them, scaring the boys who watched them with huge beads of sweat on their temples. Mikasa, no, nothing's wrong with me, enjoying the feel of the shinobi's hand on her forehead and cheeks. "Naruto, thank goodness you had me worried." Mikachin, finishing his glass of milk. "Mikasa, Naruto," the boy looked at her again with a small smile on his face. "Naruto, yes. Mikasa, would you like to take a walk tonight?" Everyone else's POV, damn it. Narrowing her eyes in anger. "Naruto. Well, the boy couldn't finish because the dining room door suddenly opened thanks to the instructor Keith Shaddies, who, true to form, had the same face and the same mood as always. "Shaddies, stop eating scum. Commander Pixis will be here in a few minutes. Stand up and go out to the courtyard in an orderly fashion and in silence." Everyone obeyed, rising from their seats, some without having finished breakfast. One of those people was Sasha, who walked with tears streaming down her face, followed by the others who chuckled quietly. "Faster, you slowpokes." It was the authoritarian order of the bald veteran, and it was obeyed. Everyone quickened their pace, leaving the dining hall in an orderly fashion and in silence. In less than a minute and a half, they were all in strict formation. Shaddies nodded with satisfaction, looking at them one by one. In the distance, he saw the commander approaching and became serious. "Attention, everyone, commander, stand at attention." Everyone obeyed, stretching and raising their heads. Pixis finally arrived, standing next to the instructor and looking at them for a moment. "Sir, all yours." He pounded his chest with his fist. "Pixis, all right, rest up." Everyone obeyed the high command, relaxing a little. Before we begin looking at Shaddies, who knew very well what his superior's intentions were. Uzumaki, Naruto, step forward. The one addressed left the group, standing at attention. "Naruto, sir." "Pixis, I've heard a lot about you, and aside from a few altercations with your classmates and breaking a 3D maneuver gear, everything else has been excellent. You're the best cadet in this class, which is why, before we move on to your personal decision, I'd like to present you with this." The veteran reached into one of his jacket pockets and pulled out a medal with the cadet troop symbol and a red ribbon note. In this story, the best cadet in the class receives the medal described above. This one is gold, while the medals given to the other 9 best are silver. "Congratulations, you've earned it." Pixis pinned the medal to his jacket lapel, and the blonde cadet placed his fist on his chest. "Naruto, it's a great honor, Commander." "Pixis, I'd like to know what your destiny is, boy." Smiling at him, "Naruto, the Survey Corps, my commander." The Konohanin replied without hesitating for a moment. "Pixis, so be it then. I have high hopes for you, boy. You may return to your comrades." The Jinchuriki bowed again and withdrew. Well, next is Eren Yeager. Pixis named the top 10 cadets one by one in this order. First, Naruto Uzumaki Survey Corps. Second, Eren Yeager Survey Corps. Third, Annie Leonhardt Survey Corps. Fourth, Reinur Braun Military Police. Fifth, Berthold Military Police. Sixth, Mikasa Ackerman Survey Corps. Seventh, Emir Survey Corps. Eighth, Marco Bot Garrison. Ninth, Sasha Bruce Survey Corps. And 10th and last, Krista Lentz Survey Corps. Once the top 10 cadets had been awarded, Pixis took a breath. It was time to give a good speech to encourage all those young souls who were about to experience the most horrible things this cruel world had to offer them. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 11. Pixis, recruits, today is not only a great day for you, it is a great day for all of humanity. From now on, it is your duty to protect the city and each and every one of its inhabitants. Your task will not be easy. Many lives will be lost in the pursuit of your noble cause. Our enemy is strong, fearless, and will fight with savagery. I have complete faith in your courage, your commitment to duty, and your skill in combat. I will accept nothing less than an absolute and unquestionable victory over the Titans. The eyes of all humanity are upon you, defenders of humanity. Do not be intimidated by our enemies. Do not succumb to discouragement and despondency after the loss of a battle or a loved one. Many of you will die, but you will do so fighting bravely and honorably to the very end, so that the heart of humanity may continue to beat with the hope of ending this nightmare. Once again, congratulations to each and every one of you. From now on, you are soldiers. Welcome." They placed their hands on their chests solemnly, accepting their commitment. There was no turning back. "Shaddies, break ranks, soldiers. Pick up your shit. From now on, you will be transferred to the official headquarters of your squadron." Everyone nodded and left, leaving the two bald men talking amongst themselves. Once inside the dormitories, everyone started taking their things out of their lockers and putting them in backpacks, suitcases basically, anything they had on hand to carry their belongings. Iren saw his blonde friend take a small bag out of his locker. He was quite surprised that this was all his comrade had, especially since he came from outside the walls as he had told them a while ago. Iren, you only have that small backpack. The blue-eyed boy nodded, not paying much attention to his friend's question. Naruto, it's not like I need more than that. Connie, and what do you have in there, if I may ask? Getting dangerously close to the shinobi's only possession. Naruto, look all you want anyway, it's not that big of a deal. The bald guy grabbed the backpack, raising an eyebrow. Connie, it barely weighs anything. Others approached them with curiosity. See Iren, Armin, Thomas, Reinner, Marco, and Berthold. Iren, open it and see what's inside. With great curiosity, a feeling that was shared to a greater or lesser extent by each and every one of them. Connie, what the hell is wrong with this zipper? It won't open. Squeezing it with no results. Armin, bring it here. Examining the zipper closely, it's just a button closure. There's no way you couldn't open it. Trying to open it. 3 seconds later, a huge drop of sweat appeared on the back of his neck. I can't. Iren, it doesn't have to be that difficult. Again, after several attempts, this time by the brown-haired boy with green eyes, the bag still wouldn't open. Naruto, tired of trying. Taking his backpack from the Jaeger's hands to open it as if nothing was wrong. And this is very simple. The blonde has a chakra seal on that can only be opened if the person in question has a chakra similar or equal to that of the person who put it, and basically he is the only person who possesses chakra, so his backpack is practically a safe. Iren, how did you do that? Very surprised, as were the others, since the blue-eyed boy hadn't made any strange movements. Naruto, a little trick which I obviously don't intend to tell you, winking mischievously at them. Connie/Marco, your mean senpai. Armin, now then, let's see what you've got in it, taking it from the hands of the Konoha shinobi. The boy rummaged inside, raising an eyebrow. What the hell is this? Pulling out a handful of medium-sized scrolls and a couple of books. Iren, the story of a truly daring shinobi. Picking up the book and opening it, turning a few pages, his eyes widened upon reading a specific name, that of the protagonist of said literary work. The protagonist has the same name as you. Armin/Connie/Marco. Let's see, approaching to glance at the book. Reinner, and who is the author? Armin, it says here that a certain Jirja the Gallant. What a strange name. Naruto. The shinobi tilted his head as if to show that he was listening. That the protagonist of this book has the same name as you is not pure coincidence, is it? He asked with great cunning. Naruto, you're right, it's no coincidence. My parents liked the book and decided to name me after it. In fact, its author was a very good friend of my father and was my godfather. Iren Sugo, and where is this Jirja guy? Naruto lowered his gaze sadly as he remembered his master's death at the hands of Pain. Naruto, he died. Everyone lowered their heads, a little embarrassed for having asked too much. Iren, Naruto, I am sorry. Naruto, relax, you didn't know, it's okay. Armin took the other book, a very special one with an orange cover. Armin, Ika Paradise, this one's by Jirya too, opening the book and flipping through the pages, blushing like a ripe tomato. Iren, what's wrong? Armin, looking at the pages, turning just as red. Naruto, I forgot to tell you that Jirya was a super pervert, taking the book from the blushing blonde's hands. Connie, while picking up one of the scrolls and opening it, she was confronted with a bunch of seals and kanji that she didn't understand. What the hell is this? Naruto, it's a secret, but I'll tell you one thing, they're more important than they seem. Marco, well, at least tell us what they're for. The Jinchuriki shook his head. Naruto, not yet, I'll tell you later, but I prefer to keep it a secret for now. Iren, don't you get tired of all this secrecy? Naruto, actually no, it's always good to have a trick or two up your sleeve that only you know about. With that, everyone gathered their things and left the barracks. Outside, the girls were waiting for them with their belongings. Ymir, it's about time. What were you doing to take so long? A little annoyed at having to wait for the others. Naruto, nah. Armin, we were looking at the things Naruto has in his backpack. Carolina, and what do you have? Naruto, with great interest in knowing what the young man with golden hair could be carrying in such a small bag. Naruto, I'll show it to you too, don't worry, right now what we have to do is take our things to our new residence, starting to walk away under the gaze of everyone else. Krista, stop. Naruto. The boy stopped, looking at the little girl. Don't walk so fast, there's no rush. Sasha, Krista is right, why the rush? Naruto, I just have a bad feeling. Making everyone present feel strange and worrying, 3 of them. Mikasa, should we be worried? Looking seriously at her companion. Naruto, yes, starting to walk, followed by the others except for 3 people. Reinner, the 2 of us are going with the military police, see you later. Saying goodbye to everyone along with Berthold. Marco, I'll go with the garrison, I hope to see you soon, goodbye. The rest continued their journey through the Trost district in silence. Naruto's serious demeanor did nothing to ease the tension. If something bad was going to happen, the last thing they wanted was to be in a good mood. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 12. After a long walk, they arrived at the building that would be their new home. They entered the building, a large house with a dining room not as big as the other and numerous individual bedrooms, which pleased them all. It was about time they had a little privacy for a change. Each of them chose a room, or rather, the girls fought over the ones surrounding the shinobis. After much arguing and a couple of punches thrown at Iren, Connie, and Armin for saying they were just a bunch of identical rooms, the allocation was as follows. In the right wing, the blonde's room in the middle, flanked by Mikasa's and Annie's on the right and Emir's and Krista's on the left. Sasha and Carolina had to suck it up and take two of the vacant rooms in the left wing of the first dormitory, next to Iren, Connie, and Armin. Once they had chosen their rooms, they left their belongings and went out to meet in the living room just beyond the entrance. Emir, what a welcome we've received, there's nobody here. Annie, the Survey Corps spends more time outside than inside the walls, it's normal that there's nobody here. Sasha, will they have food here? Making everyone sweat a huge drop, everything pointed to the fact that in the mind of the brunette there was only room for two things, food and Naruto. Connie, go to the kitchen and look anyway, I don't think they're going to tell you off. Sasha, are you coming with me? Naruto, ready to cling to his arm as she did the night before. Mikasa, oh no, stepping in with a serious expression. Sasha, why not, puffing out her cheeks in disgust. Emir, because you already got your way yesterday, we won't let you. Crossing her arms angrily, as did the others except Annie, who looked at them with a little indifference. Naruto, come on, don't get like that. All you shut up, Naruto, yais ladies. Why are all women so scary? Was what the blonde thought, comically crying in his subconscious. Kurama, because females tend to be very territorial and you're their territory pup, smiling evilly, enjoying his companion's suffering. Naruto's POV, thanks for the explanation, but I already knew that and you're not helping me, Kurama. Kurama, well then don't ask, kid, and now get out of here, your friend, the one who made you get whipped, is talking to you. Laughing. Iren, Naruto, hey Naruto. The blonde reacted by looking him in the eyes. Naruto, tell me, Iren. Iren, when are we going to talk about, trying to keep the others from hearing him? Unfortunately, Emir had very keen ears and managed to hear the brunette's whispers. Emir, what do you two have to talk about? Calling the attention of the rest, who stopped fighting, Mikasa, Sasha, Krista, and Carolina, and watching the girls engage in a verbal duel, Armin, Connie, and Annie. Iren, who said anything about that, trying to play dumb? Emir, don't play dumb. I heard you perfectly well saying something to Naruto about when you'll talk. Iren, are you sure? I don't remember any of that, and you, Naruto. Continuing with his stratagem, he made a huge vein pop out on the forehead of the freckled girl, who didn't seem very calm at that moment. Emir, Jaeger, being grabbed by Mikasa, Krista, and Sasha to prevent the brunette from giving the Jadid man a beating. Naruto, it doesn't matter if you try to hide it, Iren, surprising the brunette. Iren, what are you talking about? Mikasa, that's enough, Iren, she too lost her patience. Naruto, it's nonsense, after all, they were there that night hiding behind some boxes and they saw everything, right girls? The five opened their eyes in surprise. Carolina, how? Naruto, I know you were there from shortly after we started training and that you saw what I did. Krista, I'm so sorry, Naruto, bowing down in apology, very embarrassed. Mikasa, Naruto, me too, I'm sorry, repeating the action of her shorter companion. One by one they all left, apologizing to him, including Annie, who murmured a soft gomen. Naruto, it wasn't that big of a deal, rubbing the back of his neck, a little embarrassed. Connie, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what the hell are you guys talking about? It was the question from the bald guy who didn't have the slightest idea what his comrades were talking about, just like Armin. Naruto, you'll find out tonight, since we'll be alone here, there's no need to do it outside, we'll have more privacy. Armin, privacy, do something, wait a minute. This doesn't have anything to do with that orange book you have in your backpack, does it? Looking with a bit of disbelief at his companion with lively blue eyes. Naruto, the truth is it does have something to do with it. Armin Arlet opened his eyes, blushing to levels never before reached by another human being. Naruto understood where his friend was thinking and soon turned a little red himself. It's not what you're thinking, Baka. Mikasa, what's with that orange book that's making you all so worked up? Observing the pair of blondes who tensed up dangerously. Naruto/Armin, nothing. Gesturing effusively with his arms, something that did not convince the brunette. Sasha, these two are hiding something with a somber look, and judging by how nervous they are, I don't think it's anything good. Emir, I propose we beat it out of him. Cracking her knuckles in an unfriendly manner. Naruto, calm down, girls, there's no need to get so worked up, starting to sweat. Damn you and your big mouth, Armin. Tonight I'll tell you everything and you'll see it's not such a big deal. Mikasa and the others except Annie, you better watch out, Uzumaki. Outside Wall Rose, a brown-haired boy in the standard military police uniform looked around for someone who might see him. Luckily, there was no one near him, so he proceeded to initiate the plan. Berthold, I hope we don't have to regret this. The boy bit his finger and a beam struck him, generating an immense amount of steam that was overshadowed by a colossal humanoid creature. The colossal titan had made its appearance. Wall rose and therefore the Trost district had its days numbered. At the main base of the Survey Corps, Annie became very serious. She could feel Berthold transformed into a titan. The plan had begun and there was no turning back. Her eyes fixed on the Uzumaki who was joking with Eren and Armin after having escaped the beating his companions intended to give him. To her surprise, his expression changed to a very serious one in a matter of tenths of a second. Annie POV, could it be that he could feel it too, looking at him expectantly? Mikasa, is something wrong, Naruto? Approaching him a little worried. Naruto, it's already started, we have to go get our EMTs. Moving quickly towards the door to open it. Krista, what did Naruto start? Following him along with the others, not understanding what the shinobi was referring to. The ninja opened the door at the exact moment they heard a loud crash that froze everyone's blood except Annie's. The entire city rumbled and screams and crowds of people rushing into the streets in fear were immediate. Eren, NNO, it can't be looking at the enormous being that emerged from the walls. Carolina, it's the colossal titan deeply terrified by the grim vision that the enormous titan produced. Naruto, damn, the streets will be a madhouse, not to mention the titans coming in through the hole that thing made. Eren, we need to get to the barracks to collect our equipment and receive orders. Clenching his teeth in anger at the helplessness he felt at that moment. Krista, what do we do, just as scared as Carolina? Mikasa, let's start moving now. The longer we take to leave, the harder it will be to get there. Trying to leave through the door, she was stopped by the blonde boy's hand. Naruto, it's suicide to go on foot. There's no other option but to use this to get to the barracks quickly. Very serious. Put a hand on one of my shoulders and get ready. Everyone obeyed without question. In less than a second, they vanished in a reddish flash, appearing in the middle of the headquarters. Everyone felt deeply dizzy, while all the soldiers who were present there almost suffered a heart attack from the fright. Soldier, what the? Dropping his weapon in shock. Soldier 2, you. Stop, pointing at them with a rifle that was shaking like jelly from the fear he felt. Naruto, we don't have time for nonsense. Where's a warehouse? All the soldiers continued pointing at them with fear in their eyes. Soldier 3W, stay where you are. Don't take another step. Naruto, tusk idiots. Before the shinobi could do anything, Commander Pixis, followed by a couple of high-ranking officers, made their appearance to calm things down. Pixis, lower your weapons. The situation is too serious to be attacking each other. The soldiers reluctantly obeyed, lowering their rifles but without taking their eyes off the newcomers. Naruto, Commander, we need our EMTs to be able to help. Pixis, I know there's a warehouse here with a handful of them. Pointing to a single-story but fairly large building, take them and come back here. I'll assign teams and give you your orders. Hurry up. Everyone, yes. The group ran to the warehouse, taking the EMTs and the necessary blades to kill the titans, returning to where the commander was. Pixis, very well, I will divide you into 3 squads. Naruto, Uzumaki, you will lead the attack squad. Springer, Bruise, Lentz, and Ymir will go with you. Naruto, high, looking at his now subordinates who had fear in their eyes. Pixis, Eren Yeager, you will lead the support and rescue squad. Your mission is to help the other teams and rescue civilians. Mina, Arlet, and Leonhardt will go with you. Naruto, and what about Mikasa? Looking at the beautiful young woman who had her head. Pixis, Ackerman will stay here in the rear. She will be used as reinforcement for teams that suffer losses. Now march and may your heart beat serenely for the pride of humanity. Mikasa, Naruto, Eren, Armin. Grabbing both of their arms, come back alive, crying with helplessness at not being able to accompany them. Eren, Mika being cut off by the blonde. Naruto, I give you my word, as long as I live, I will not let any of my friends die. I will defend each and every one of you with my life. He said it with such seriousness that it caused huge blushes on the women and equally huge smiles on the men. Pixis, I'm counting on you. March on. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 13. Naruto and his team began their mission. Their objective was to annihilate as many titans as possible to make things easier for Eren's team and the other support squads. They moved fluidly and quickly across the rooftops thanks to their EMTs, although his comrades still wondered what the hell the blonde had used to get them to the barracks so fast. But now was not the time for questions and explanations. First they had to fight, eliminate the monsters, and most importantly, get out of that cage formerly known as the Trost district alive. The colossal titan remained completely immobile, clinging to the wall with both hands, but he wasn't their target for the moment. Before their eyes, they could see a large number of titans of various sizes, from the smallest, about 5 to 6 meters tall, to the most dangerous after the armored titan and the colossal titan, about 15 meters and up. Naruto, stay in strict formation and cooperate to eliminate them. I'll try to draw their attention to make things easier for you, getting a little ahead of the rest. Krista, Naruto, are you crazy? Come back here. Trying in vain to change the plans of her now squad leader. Sasha, damn it, biting her lip in despair, they're going to kill him. Connie, trust your leader more. Naruto-senpai is tough as nails and I trust him. As long as he's with us, we'll all get home safe and sound, quickening her pace to follow the blue-eyed boy. Ymir, for once I agree with you, 8-ball, let's go. The freckled girl and the other two girls also picked up the pace to face a couple of titans who were very busy destroying houses to devour their inhabitants. Naruto, take this, you bastard. Jumping from one of the rooftops, sword raised high, he decapitated the monster with one blow. Unfortunately for him, his sword, the one given to recruits, broke from the force of the impact. Remember that the blades of the army's weapons are prepared to cut the napes of the titans, not to decapitate them with one blow. What a load of crap, throwing the hilt to the ground. Sasha, he's unarmed against the other titan. Krista, Ymir, let's go. Her companions nodded from the rooftops surrounding hers while Connie tried to pull a woman from the rubble of a building. Connie, I know this isn't my mission, lifting a wooden beam to tip it as far away from the woman's body as possible. But I can't just leave anyone to their fate with these things wandering around here. Ymir, shorty, you take the right leg, I'll take the left. Krista nodded, ignoring the insult, gripped her blades, and fired the cables of her three-dimensional device at a facade to propel herself and strike the titan at the exact point, its Achilles heel. Ymir did the same, and both of them lunged at the beast, who saw them coming. Naruto, shit, watch out. Lifting his right sleeve slightly, I have no other choice but to use it, sorry it has to be to kill these things. Mom Ymir opened her eyes when she realized the titan was changing position and preparing to jump. Ymir, shit. Trying to manipulate her equipment without achieving anything. Sasha, no. The titan leaped, opening its jaws ready to swallow Ymir. The freckled girl opened her eyes just in time for them to water with terror. Krista, Ymir, get out of there. Reaching the ground, trying to find a place to hook the cables and go to the aid of her partner. Ymir's POV. This is where it all ends. I'm sorry to be the one who makes you break your promise. Naruto, the brunette, could feel the disgusting stench and heat coming from the titan's jaws just a few meters away from her. She closed her eyes, releasing a couple of tears that flew away at the sudden movement. Ymir felt a cool breeze run through her entire body as a pair of arms wrapped around her, giving her a feeling of security she had never experienced before. She opened her eyes upon hearing a thunderous crash, more specifically the sound of a huge body falling to the ground. Her cheeks turned red when she saw the face of her savior, Uzumaki Naruto, who had just saved her life. Naruto, are you alright, Imerchin? The girl couldn't utter a word due to the shock that still choked her throat, so she simply nodded shyly and enjoyed the moment. I won't let any of you die, especially you two, you're very important to me. Reaching the roof where her two companions and the newcomer Connie Springer were. Krista, Ymir. Hugging her with tears in her eyes just after the blue-eyed boy, let go of her, you're such a fool, you almost died. Ymir's POV, Krista returning the hug with a sincere smile, thank you, Naruto-kun. Naruto, stay alert at all times, wiping the blood from the edge of his sword, with a flick of the wrist. This isn't a game, and more importantly, some of them pointing to the decapitated corpse of the titan that nearly killed Ymir are unpredictable. Sasha/Connie/Krista, Hi. Naruto, I sense many more not far from here. Preparing to leap between rooftops using his EMT, never let your guard down, I'll act as bait again while you deal with them. The blonde jumped to the next roof, followed by the rest of his squad. In another area of the Trost district, Iran and his group were directing the vast numbers of civilians fleeing en masse towards safety. The chestnut-haired man's squad had already engaged in combat a couple of times in support of other platoons that were in serious trouble against the titans that had entered through the breach in the wall. Although they fulfilled their duty, they couldn't prevent many casualties, both civilian and military. The situation was becoming increasingly complicated by the minute. The titans kept coming, and to make matters worse, people were crowding into the narrow alleyways, creating bottlenecks and traffic jams that hindered evacuation. It was at that moment that Iren decided to take the initiative and plan a strategy to buy time for everyone trapped down there. Iren, damn it. If we continue like this, we won't be able to stop the beast from massacring all those people, wiping the sweat that dripped down his forehead, a product of the enormous nervousness that was eating him up. Armin, I know, but people are very scared. We can't calm them down when they're running away, desperately swallowing hard. Iren, I have a plan. Looking determinedly at his blonde friend, Armin, what is it? Quite scared because he was not yet mentally prepared for such serious situations. Iren, let's go to Annie and Carolina, we have to hurry. The two moved nimbly across the rooftops of the buildings. Luckily, the titans were still far from their position. The two soldiers reached their comrades who were trying their best to evacuate the civilians. Annie, Carolina, the two looked at them. Annie, what do you want, Jaeger? We're very busy right now. Get back to your post or you'll bring in the titans and this will turn into a bloodbath. Iren, that's exactly what I was getting at. Armin and I are going to move back a bit to assist the vanguard teams and take out as many titans as possible to prevent them from getting near here. Looking at the blonde seriously, Annie was not the least bit fazed by his words. Honestly, she didn't care in the slightest what the brunette did. Carolina, no, Iren. It's too dangerous, and our orders. Iren, our orders are to help other squads and save civilians. If we just stand here, we won't do either. Carolina, but lowering her gaze, unable to formulate a convincing response to her leader's words. Iren, we'll be fine, don't worry, we'll keep the beasts away from you as long as possible. Annie, do whatever you want, going down to the ground to continue giving instructions to the huge number of people who kept arriving. Carolina, please stay alive. Iren, don't worry, we'll be back safe and sound, giving the girl a warm smile. Come on, Armin, we have work to do. Armin, hahe. They both quickly left for the center of the Tross district while the brunette watched them with concern from the rooftop. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 14. The brunette and the blonde continued their journey, swiftly traversing numerous streets across the rooftops. In the distance, they could already see a meager number of soldiers trying to hold back the beasts with everything they had. However, all those vanguard squads, or rather frontline units, had suffered heavy casualties in just a few minutes of fighting. Many of these teams, also known as fresh meat platoons, had been forced to merge with the remnants of others to have any slim chance of victory. Iren clenched his fists as he watched 2 soldiers being devoured in a single bite by one of those creatures. The outcome of this battle looked very grim. Iren, Armin, get ready, we have to help them. Armin, yes, preparing his papers even though his hands were shaking like jelly. Iren and Armin finally arrived at the conflict zone, assisting the survivors in every way they could. The survivors were grateful for the reinforcements, even though they were just 2 newly graduated recruits. Iren and the others managed to take down a couple of titans, but unfortunately for them, a few more were approaching. Iren, damn it. More are coming. Armin stood beside him, however, he heard someone's pitiful moans. Armin, should I have to stop the bleeding or he'll die, running to the aid of a wounded comrade who had lost a leg and was bleeding out. Don't worry, I'll help you, searching in his backpack for something he could use to make a tourniquet. Does anyone have any bandages left? Soldier, I have it. Running towards him. Armin, apply pressure to the wound. The soldier obeyed, placing his hands on the stump of his companion who was whimpering in pain, quite weak from the profuse blood loss. Iren will cover you. As soon as you stop the bleeding, get him out of here. Jumping to another rooftop to get a good angle to attack the titans approaching. Arlet, don't let them get any closer. The few soldiers still standing nodded, waiting for the right moment to attack. Now, they all rushed at the beasts, attacking with everything they had. 3 titans fell dead with relative ease, however. The last one was different, only this one left. Take this, trash. The green-eyed man lunged at the titan, who jumped back, falling on his back but dodging the brown-haired man. Soldier 2, he's a freak, be careful. In a fraction of a second, the monster got up and jumped again, this time against one of the buildings where there were 3 soldiers. None of them could move, being crushed by the beast, which stood up again with its eyes on the roof where Armin was. Armin, just a little more, passing the bandages over the stump of the man who had recently fainted from the pain. There. Iren, let's, lifting his face to see the titan flying towards them with its jaws wide open. Iren, Armin, no. He propelled himself at full speed towards his friend. The blonde closed his eyes as he listened to the terrified scream of the soldier beside him. He waited for death, which never came, only a shove, a sound of impact, and the feel of the tiles against his back. When he opened his eyes, he felt absolute terror invade his entire being. His friend Iren had saved his life at the cost of his own. His eyes made out his friend with half his body embedded in the titan's teeth. With the little strength he had left, the brunette raised his hand, trying to reach the blonde, who was still in shock. Just a blink, completely unconscious, was enough for him to see Iren being swallowed, losing his arm, which fell barely a meter away from him. Armin, Iren, no, the titan propelled itself from the ground to eat him too, but was brought down by a blonde girl. Annie, just in time, watching the monster's corpse fall lifeless into the streets. Carolina, Armin, are you okay? And Iren, the brunette asked, frightened, grabbing the boy's shoulders. He seemed unable to react due to shock, only babbling incoherently. Armin, he is can't. Carolina, Armin, snap out of it, shaking him. Annie, damn it, picking up the severed arm lying on the roof. Jaeger is dead. Carolina's eyes widened in shock. Carolina, what? Don't say things like that, not even as a joke. Glaring at the blonde. Annie, only that explains the boy's condition, pointing with her free hand at the blonde boy who lay sitting hugging his knees, constantly babbling with his eyes wide open. Carolina, no, this can't be happening, crouching down due to the bad news. Annie, it's happened, we can't do anything. Watching as more titans approached in the distance. We have to get him out of here, pulling the brunette's arm away. Carolina, High taking the blonde boy to carry him on her back and fleeing together with Leonhardt. In another part of the Tross district, Naruto and his team were making their way through with considerable speed and efficiency, all thanks to the fact that the blonde had decided to put aside the enormous stupidity of using the EMT when he could move more fluidly without it. His companions and many of the soldiers they encountered along the way were amazed to see the shinobi destroy a large number of titans in a few minutes, without using the 3-dimensional equipment and with only a sword. Sasha, Emir, and Krista watched with stars in their eyes as their leader and platonic love finished off any monster that dared to cross their path. Naruto, they keep coming. I have no choice but to use it, stopping dead on top of a rooftop. The rest of his team arrived with him a few seconds later. Connie, Naruto, what are you going to? Naruto Shadow Clone Jutsu. A large number of smoke explosions frightened those present. Their jaws dropped to the ground as they saw a large number of blondes appear. Emir, he replied to himself, unable to believe what he was seeing. Krista/Sasha Sugoi, Naruto is amazing, poking one of the clones with her fingers who had a huge drop of sweat on the back of his neck. Naruto, split up and take out all the titans you find. Taking position to enter combat and clear the area of hostiles. Clones, hi, the blondes dispersed, attacking all the beasts unlucky enough to encounter them. The blondes' comrades watched with admiration, amazement, and a little fear as all the titans were massacred before the enormous swarm of blondes, who disappeared in smoke if they were hit or bitten by the abnormal ones. Sasha, incredible, he's wiping them all out without hardly even trying, watching the copies of their leader decimate the number of enemies. Krista, Naruto is the best, with stars in her eyes and a big blush taking over her face. Emir POV, what else do you have up your sleeve? Naruto staring in awe at the original blue-eyed boy. Naruto, that's it, let's go to Eren and the others, I have a bad feeling. Connie, but what about the colossal titans? Pointing at the enormous being that remained still, doing nothing, basically not even having to defend itself, no team had managed to reach it. Naruto, we'll deal with it later, you question my orders. He gave a serious and authoritarian look to the bald man who looked small in the face of the shinobi's imposing presence. Connie, no Teichu. Sasha/Krista/Emir POV, Hexy. That was the word that came to mind when they saw their leader putting pressure on his subordinate. Naruto, if there are no further problems, let's go to wherever Eren and the others are. Everyone nodded and proceeded to follow their leader who had already set off. Far from there, Mikasa Ackerman leaped across rooftops with the help of her EMT, searching for one of her friend's two teams. A bad feeling had gripped her heart for some time, and only after much pleading with Commander Pixis had he agreed to send her to the front lines to reinforce a squad that was short-staffed. Under this pretext, she advanced through the streets, worry reflected in her eyes, worry that something might have happened to one of her friends, especially Naruto or Eren. Her heart pounded, almost stabbed by the poisoned edge of the naive premonition that one of them had died. She had to quicken her pace and find them both to make sure they were all right, and of course, lend them a hand. Annie Leonhardt saw the blonde boy and the rest of his team approaching them from afar. Strangely, she felt a little relief to see the blue-eyed boy safe and sound, although she couldn't explain to herself why she felt that way. With them almost upon her, she couldn't help but think about what would happen when Naruto found out that Eren had died, devoured by an abnormal titan. He would know very soon, it was only a matter of seconds. Naruto, Anachin. Arriving at the same rooftop where the shape-shifting blonde was. I'm glad you're okay. Smiling at her with relief, Annie felt strange and could only lower her head in embarrassment and mutter a curt thank you in a whisper almost imperceptible to the average human ear. And the others. Annie there on the other side of the roof, pointing with her hand to the place. Naruto, thank you, walking across the tiles to reach the highest part of the roof and get to the other side where he saw only Armin and Carolina, the blonde sitting hugging his knees and the brunette touching his shoulder with a sad look. Armin, Carolinachin, Carolina, Naruto. She jumped up quickly to hug him, tears streaming down her face, much to the dismay of the other women. Thank goodness you're all right, tightening her grip on the Konohanin, who simply returned the hug to comfort her. Naruto, of course I'm fine, I'm glad you are too, tenderly caressing her cheek to the delight of the dark-haired girl and the even greater displeasure of the other women. Where's Eren? Looking around. Carolina, he is, with a large lump in her throat that prevented her from finishing her sentence. Armin, he's dead, he died because of me, I'm scum. The blonde reacted, jumping up suddenly, shouting at the top of his lungs with tears streaming down his cheeks in great torrents, much to the surprise of the newcomers. Naruto, what? His eyes widened in shock at the news. Armin, he's dead. He died devoured by a freak who was going to kill me. He saved my life by sacrificing himself for me, a useless fool who was incapable of reacting in time. I'm a sharp sound abruptly cut off Arlit screams, who was lying on the roof tiles with his right cheek red and swollen. Naruto, don't you dare call yourself useless. Armin, Naruto, don't you dare. Unleashing a massive murderous instinct that terrified everyone present. I'm going to finish off every single one of them, don't even think about interfering, that's an order. Before any of them could utter a reply to his words, the blonde had vanished in a reddish flash. Only Kami knew what he was going to do in that state. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 15. All the remaining soldiers fighting were utterly astonished to see one of the new recruits dispatching the Titans as if they were mere ants. Some of them quickly recalled the mysterious man who had appeared 5 years earlier during the Shiganshina disaster, wiping out many hostiles using the same attack strategy. Berthold watched in terror as the plan teetered on the brink of failure. He silently prayed that Ryunour wouldn't dare appear as the armored Titan. Honestly, he wasn't sure he would survive the blonde man this time, who seemed quite enraged as he dispatched every titan he saw, slicing off limbs as if they were butter, decapitating some with a single blow of his weapon and breaking the arms and legs of others before ripping them open in search of something. Naruto doesn't know that the titan containing Eren died shortly after devouring him. As if some omnipotent being had heard his pleas and decided to punish him, his friend made his appearance, charging fiercely at the blonde man, not caring about taking down houses, people, or other titans. Naruto, you again vanishing, dodging the battleship that stopped abruptly to search for him. I have a score to settle with you, caressing the edge of his sword that gleamed, reflecting the rays of the sun. Reinur's POV, this time will be different. Uzumaki, I'll distract you while Bertholdt lures more titans. You won't be able to save Trost or any of your friends in the armored vehicle. He grabbed a handful of rubble and threw it at the blue-eyed boy, who easily dodged it without needing to use his father's technique. Reinur said, reinforcements are coming to help you. That will make things easier for me. Naruto sensed the faint presence of several soldiers approaching them. Naruto, shit, these guys are just going to get in my way. The armored colossus gathered more debris and launched it, this time against the newcomers, who could barely react were it not for a huge wall of rock that emerged from the ground, stopping the projectiles. Reinur's POV, what the hell? How the hell did he do that? Observing the raised rock with surprise and fear. Naruto, wind release air bullets. After a brief series of seals, the Jinchuriki took a breath which he soon expelled in small puffs that, to the surprise of the two titans and the impromptu spectators, hit the titan's armor hard, causing it to retreat several steps. Bertholdt, he didn't hit him. How the hell did he manage to make him back down? I have no choice but to speed up the plan if we want to get out of this. The colossal titan began to attract more titans, which approached the opening in the wall as fast as they could to enter. Hang on, Reinur. Hopefully these things will distract him long enough for us to escape. Watching from atop the wall as his companion received a thrust from the Konohanen's weapon. Luckily, his armor held long enough not to be pierced. Naruto, it seems to have hardened over time. Interesting. I wonder how long it will last before breaking. And if I'll need anything more than my fists and sword, leaping to dodge a downward blow that completely destroyed the building he was standing in. No matter how fast you try to move and hit me, you'll never be able to keep up with me, you idiot. Disappearing in a crimson flash, Reinur automatically covered the back of his neck and jaw. I'm not going to kill you yet. Appearing beside his face, he buried his sword in his neck, managing to slip half a blade between the seams of the armored giant's plates. Soldier, more of those things are coming. Screaming in horror as he saw a huge number of titans of various sizes arrive en masse where they were. Soldier 2, what do we do? Looking scared as some of them tried to climb the building to eat them. Soldier 3, let's retreat and set up a security perimeter. Huddled together here will just become easy prey for them. The one who seemed to be their captain spoke. Soldier 4 and the boy. We can't leave him here alone. Soldier 3, he'll be alright. He's fighting the armored titan head-on after all. Let's go and try to do something. Everyone, yes. The small group of reinforcements began to withdraw to the relief of the blonde man. At least now he wouldn't have to keep an eye on them. However, a series of presences approaching the two of them alarmed him greatly, and one in particular surprised him. Naruto POV, no way. I can feel Eren approaching and the others too. This is getting ugly. I have to use this to finish off this idiot as soon as possible. The blonde created a clone beside him while the armored titan went on the defensive, awaiting his move. The clone began kneading chakra in the original's hand, creating a blue sphere that increased in size as the shinobi's replica circled it with his hands. The armored titan recoiled slightly, terrified at the sight. All his senses were telling him, screaming at him, that he had to dodge that thing at all costs. The blonde's companions and Eren's team arrived at the scene, keeping a short distance from the fight. Their eyes widened in disbelief as they saw their comrade holding a large blue orb in his hand that seemed to spin and pulse with immense power. Sasha, what the hell is that? Looking with great interest at whatever her leader was holding without seeming tired. Annie, it's incredible scared. Whatever that is, he's very powerful. It's not a good idea to face him head-on. What will you do, Reinur? Were the thoughts of the blonde user of the female titan. Connie, damn, I feel useless right now, clenching her teeth as she realized she would only be a mere spectator in that battle. Ymir, don't just stand there. Naruto-kun is fighting the battleship, but there are still a large number of titans in the area. Let's do something to help him. Looking excitedly at her savior despite the unfriendly looks from the other women because of the overly affectionate suffix she had added to the name of the Jinchuriki native of Konoha. The air became heavy when a very sweaty, bloody, and perspiring black-haired woman arrived with them. Krista, my Mikasa. What was that? Mikasa, where are Naruto and Eren? Standing up with a terrifying look that made them tremble with fear. Ackerman's eyes stopped to observe the back of her blonde friend as he held the enormous Udama Rasengan while Armin's sad and weak voice reached her ears. Armin's. Iren is dead. The blonde jumped from his place, dodging several titans that had managed to reach him. He moved agilely across the rooftops, ready to strike his jutsu at the chest of the armored colossus, who placed his arms in an X at the level of his chest, thus protecting both his head and heart, although to his bad luck. Neither of those two places were the destination of the blonde, who jumped from one of the rooftops to the ground and immediately afterward jumped again, ready to strike his technique at the stomach. Carolina, he's going to hit him. Everyone except Armin took their attention off Mikasa, who was still standing upright in the same place where she had landed, her gaze downcast and a shadow obscuring her eyes. Her lips trembled and a couple of rivers of tears fell down her cheeks, rushing to the ground. While this was happening, the blonde man unleashed his technique against the titan, who took the blow squarely in his abdominal area. Reinur opened his eyes, feeling as if he couldn't breathe, and a sharp pain began to course through his entire body. To the surprise of everyone present, the armored titan was propelled into the air, flying in a frenetic rotation until it crashed into the enormous wall, passing through it and being completely knocked out outside the Trost district. Everyone except Mikasa, he defeated him with a single blow. With his eyes wide open, the blonde boy stood motionless on the ground, staring at the huge hole in wall rose made by the armored man's body, surrounded by more titans ready to devour him. "Krista, Naruto, get out of there!" Shouting at the top of her lungs to the boy of her dreams, who was still motionless in the street, some of those present prepared to enter combat and help the blue-eyed boy when a titan larger than most of those that were swarming around made its appearance, scaring everyone and surprising Annie Leonhardt. Annie POV, that's watching as the newly arrived Colossus struck a couple of beasts, killing them instantly to everyone's surprise. Connie, he's attacking the other titans. Unable to believe what her eyes were seeing, Sasha, she saved Naruto, just as surprised as the rest. While the mysterious titan finished off the other titans, Mikasa looked at Armin, who was scared by the way the girl's gray eyes were staring at him. "Mikasa, what do you mean?" He's clenching her fists angrily. "Armin, he saved me from dying at the hands of a freak. He sacrificed himself for me." Naruto found out, and he was angry with me for blaming me for his death. He looked down, feeling guilty about how he had spoken about himself, making his friend's sacrifice seem like utter stupidity. "Mikasa, he can't be dead, he can't." She looked away from Arlott to watch her other blonde friend fighting the remaining titans to help the mysterious titan who had come to their aid and was now against a wall, being devoured by several of those monsters. Naruto's POV, "I have to help him before they kill him, damn it. Mikasa and the others are here. I won't break my promise this time." With agility and efficiency, he finished off the remaining titans, freeing the attack titan that lay shattered on the ground. In the distance, the colossal titan watched as the plan had failed for the moment, sensing that they would now come for him and his partner. He decided to vanish his titan form and pull Reinur out of his own to escape, hoping that the few remaining titans would delay them long enough. Naruto approached the titan's body, jumping onto its back. The rest of his companions jumped down, watching him with doubt, except for Annie, who knew perfectly well what the boy was planning to do. "Ymir, get down from there, Naruto-kun, it's dangerous." "Naruto, no, he's not. He's a friend we thought was lost." The blonde boy sliced open the nape of the attack titan's neck, revealing the body of an unconscious brown-haired boy. Everyone's eyes widened in surprise, except for Annie, who already knew. Mikasa ran from the crowd, jumping onto the titan's back and hugging Iren. She pressed her ear to the green-eyed boy's chest, and the sound of his heartbeat made her eyes widen in shock. She began to cry, clutching her friend tightly to her chest. "I told you, Mikachin, I never break a promise. We're all safe and sound." Mikasa gently released Iren and jumped on top of the blonde boy, tears streaming down her face. Mikasa, baka, 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 giving in to the hurricane of emotions swirling in her heart and kissing the blonde boy passionately before the joyful gazes of the boys and the court of women present. "Naruto, I could get used to this." Mikachin causing a great blush on the girl who had broken the kiss, leaving them connected by an almost imperceptible thread of saliva. Mikasa, shut up. Bakakun looking away, very embarrassed by what her impulses had made her do. Sasha's POV, damn you, Mika, crying comically as she was overtaken again by the brunette with the scarf. "Ymir, this won't end like this, Mikasa. Naruto-kun saved my life and he'll be mine." She shouted at the top of her lungs, drawing angry stares from the other women and beads of sweat from the men, including the poor blonde. "Krista, don't you dare call Naruto-kun that." Confronting the freckled girl, who returned her gaze with a desire for confrontation, and I don't even know if it will be verbal or with punches. "Ymir, and what about you, dwarf?" Leaning towards her with her arms crossed. "Sasha/Carolina, don't forget about us." Joining the argument that seemed to be getting worse by the minute. "Naruto, I don't know what mess I've gotten myself into this time," sighing resignedly. "Mikasa, I'd like to make you a couple of proposals." "Naruto-kun," the girl whispered just inches from the blonde boy. "Naruto, tell me, Mikachin." Mikasa, I'd like you to tell me everything about yourself, what those things you do are, where you come from, what you're doing here, and finally I'd like to have some time alone with you. She said the last part in a whisper, red as a ripe tomato, but unfortunately for her, the other women had heard her and were very angry. Very jealous perhaps, or simply furious and jealous. Everyone except Annie and Mikasa, we won't let you, Ackerman. The shouting stopped when a handful of soldiers arrived armed with rifles. The jokes and other nonsense were over, now it was time to get serious. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 16. Everyone stared seriously at the newly arrived soldiers. Something told them that whatever they were looking for was nothing good. Soldier 1, Uzumaki, Naruto, and Eren Yeager, by direct and express order of Commander Nile Doc, you are under arrest. Krista, what? You can't do that, observing the military police surrounding them. Sasha, what the hell is this? Taking a couple of steps back, scared and angry. Ymir, you just saved your asses, you bunch of idiots, facing one of them. Soldier 2, watch your words, soldiers. All the men pointed their rifles at the two squads. The orders are clear. Either you come willingly or we'll force you, and we won't hesitate to use brute force, said the one who seemed to be one of the leaders of the police detail, as they all wore the emblem of that organization on their jackets. So what's your decision? Ymir, idiots, clenching her fists in anger, this was going to end very badly. Naruto, we surrender, surprising everyone present, including the men sent by Nile. Mikasa, Naruto, no, you can't, but she was cut off by the blonde boy who gently took her hand, brushing his thumb against the back of it. Naruto, we'll be alright, I promise. Mikasa, but they're going to torture you or kill you, I can't let them do that. Naruto, you forget that giving her a soft kiss on the lips that melted her, to the envy of the others who, because of the seriousness of the situation, didn't make a fuss outside. I always keep my promises, I promise you that we'll both be alright, getting up to carry the unconscious Eren under the gaze of the others. Soldier 3, stop right there. One of our guys will carry the bratty Titan, approaching the corpse of the attack Titan, pointing his rifle at the shinobi. Naruto, I'll take it myself, it's nothing personal, but I don't trust you guys. Soldier 3, you son of a, preparing to hit him with the butt of his weapon. Soldier 1, relax, soldier looking at his comrades seriously. Uzumaki, observing the blonde who returned his gaze without much interest. You said you're a man of your word, and so am I, so if you promise not to escape with Yeager, I promise we won't retaliate against your friends, but turning somber. If you dare to escape, I won't guarantee the safety of your squad and the Titan boys. Naruto stared at him for a few moments that seemed like minutes. None of those present could utter a word, much less utter a phrase, complaint, or joke. The atmosphere was so tense that any of them could cut it with their leaves. Soldier 1, well, do we have an agreement or will I have to do it by force? Preparing for the worst, he himself had seen how that magical brat wiped out entire groups of Titans, not to mention having defeated the armored Titan twice. Naruto, deal, taking the brunette carefully and throwing him over his right shoulder like a sack full of leaves. He jumped down, placing himself at the same level as one of Nile's men, who took some handcuffs from his belt pouch. No handcuffs, I promised I wouldn't escape, and the threat to my comrade's safety is enough to deter me from running away. Soldier 3, shut up, those are orders from Commander Nile, persisting in handcuffing him. Soldier 1, stop. I've told you to control yourself, soldier, this kid is very dangerous. If he's been able to kill so many of those things, what can he do to us even if we handcuff him? Soldiers 2 and 3, but sir. Soldier 1, no buts, let's go now, the commander will be impatient. The group began walking, escorting the two boys. After a few steps, the now confirmed commander of the military police squad turned to face the others. And if any of you dare to get in our way or try to play the hero to free either of these two, pointing at the blonde boy carrying the brunette with a serious expression, let them face the consequences. Let's go. The escort group, or rather the arresting group, left at a brisk pace, leaving the others behind, glaring at them. Ymir, damn it, what do we do now? Shaking her head and kicking a small stone that was just centimeters from her foot. Krista, there's some. Carolina, staying here on the sidelines won't solve anything, we have to go with them, becoming serious and ready to follow the captors of her blonde. Connie, are you crazy? Shouted the bald guy, who quickly regretted it when he received murderous glares from the girls. Sasha, if we don't do something, only Kami will know what they're capable of doing to them, the brunette murmured worriedly. Annie, they'll lock them in the dungeon until they're tried, most likely they'll be executed, the blonde said, masking her concern for the blue-eyed ninja with her usual stoicism. Ymir, how dare you say such things so lightly, facing her with anger in her gaze, soon seconded by Krista, Carolina, and Sasha. Annie, it's the truth, no matter what we do, we'll only make things worse. And if your stupid crush is blinding you to that, that's your problem, the four of you. The last thing Uzumaki wants is for us to put ourselves at risk for him. Ymir, you will base. Mikasa, she's right. Ymir, the four girls turned around to see the brunette descending from the Titan's body with a serious expression. Krista, but Mikasa, we can't let them do anything bad to them. Mikasa, if we try to do something, then they'll do something worse to them, she said. her voice almost breaking with the enormous worry she felt at that moment. Slash 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 slash. Meanwhile, with the military police platoon and the pair of captives they were escorting. Soldier 1, tell me Uzumaki, what was it that you used to take down all those monsters? The group leader asked curiously to the blonde man who was walking calmly carrying his unconscious friend on his back. Naruto, I'm not going to tell you with a serious look. Soldier 2, whether you like it or not, you'll have to talk to Judge Zachary if you really want us to leave your little friends alone, especially those pretty girls. Soldier 3, they looked really angry about how we treated you, kid, but don't worry, a couple of blows with this bad boy's rifle butt and they'll be at our feet, showing the rifle to the blonde with a disgusted look. Only Kami knew what the hell that disgusting being with a human appearance was thinking. Soldier 1, shut up, both of you, behave yourselves. We're the military police, not a bunch of petty thugs. Soldiers 2 and 3, Hitechu, returning to their positions with their heads down. Naruto, you have good leadership skills. I appreciate you putting those two idiots in their place. Soldier 3, you son of a bitch. Leaving the formation, intending to hit him with the butt of his rifle and put him in his place, Naruto smirked and dodged the blow, pulling out a knife and snapping the weapon in two with a clean slash. The rifle fell to the ground completely useless while its owner took a couple of steps back, terrified. He's a monster, shoot him. His comrades, also scared, pointed their weapons at the duo, ready to open fire. Soldier 1, don't shoot, that's an order, and you. Pointing at the soldier, causing the commotion, I'll talk to you later. Soldier 3, Hi, Naruto, may I ask what your name is? Looking at the commander who had already turned around and restarted the march towards the barracks. Soldier 1, my name is Fabian Flowernoy. I was at the front assisting a vanguard team when you came by taking out the monsters that were going to kill us. I didn't tell you before, but thank you. Naruto, you're welcome, I guess. Fabian, we're about to arrive at the barracks. Commander Nile is quite arrogant, so be careful how you behave. He's impulsive and an idiot. He got promoted after sucking up to the previous commander and even the king himself. Naruto, I'll keep that in mind, thank you very much. The leader, now known as Fabian Flowernoy, stepped aside, letting the blonde man pass. He entered the same barracks where he had teleported his companions to collect equipment. There a large number of soldiers, all of them with the emblem of the military police, awaited them quite tense. In the center of the enormous courtyard, a tall man with dark hair and a thin beard waited with his arms crossed. This man raised his voice so that everyone could hear him. You've finally arrived. I was starting to get impatient. Observing the two captives several meters away from him closely, so you two are the monsters my men have told me about, the Titan Brat and the Boy Wonder. He said as if spitting out those labels with disgust. We already have enough problems with monsters invading our city without having to deal with a couple of them within our ranks. Naruto, you must be Nile Doc, right? The person in question wrinkled his face in disgust. Nile, don't you dare say my name, beast. Showing authoritarianism, basically to act tough in front of his men. Naruto, you know what? Carefully placing the unconscious Eren on the ground behind him. Horrible things happen to pedants like you. They end up discredited, humiliated, and in the end dead in a horrible and dishonorable way, staring intently into his eyes without showing even the slightest hint of fear or doubt. Nile, how dare you, you piece of trash. Just at that moment the prisoner's companions arrived. However, they were detained by Fabian and his men. Emir, let us through, you idiot. Fabian, I'm afraid not. Any outside intervention at this time would be an act of high treason and therefore a passport to execution. Remain calm if you don't want to get your friends into more trouble. Mikasa POV, Naruto, Eren, please don't let anything happen to you. That was all the brunette could do, beg for the well-being of her friends. Sasha, there has to be some way to stop them from doing anything to them. They haven't done anything wrong, on the contrary, they saved many lives, the brunette replied, crying with rage, her appetite completely overshadowed by worry. Fabian, that's exactly why I think they won't do anything to them unless Nile, damn it, the captain replied, biting his thumbnail in annoyance. Mikasa, what's wrong with him? She asked Flowernoy with a bit of anxiety. Fabian, prepare for the worst, addressing his men who nodded, surrounding the newcomers and preventing them from doing anything to help their two friends. Armin, what is this? Why are you doing this? Are you all okay with treating two comrades who saved your lives like this? The blonde boy shouted angrily, and it was no wonder. Not long ago he thought his friend had died to save his life, and now that he had him back he wasn't going to let him go for anything in the world. Fabian, silence. Looking seriously at Commander Nile. Nile, how dare you? A piece of scum like you speaking to a superior officer like that. Not only have you put the safety of my men and my city at risk, but you've also had the nerve and the stupidity to threaten me in public. The dark-haired man said with a huge vein throbbing on his forehead. Nile Doc was not exactly a very patient man. He was almost at the limit of his sanity. Naruto, First of all, the safety of most of your men was at risk because they are basically incompetent, vulgar thugs of the worst kind and cowards who are incapable of facing an enemy who is tied up and has his back turned. Second, this is not your city, it belongs to each and every one of its inhabitants. And third, I didn't threaten you at any time, I only saw your future. Those words were the last straw, which in this case was the patience of Commander Nile. Nile, you damn brat, shoot him with the cannon until there's not even a bone left. He shouted at the top of his lungs to the gunners who pointed the artillery piece at the two boys. Mikasa, no, Naruto, Iren, trying to break free from the grip of Fabian's boys who were clenching their teeth in anger. Krista, let me go, you trash. Naruto escapes, trying to break free from the soldier who was holding her by both arms. Armin, bastards. Joining the attempt to free themselves from Fabian's men like the others except for Annie, who was strangely calm. Annie POV, idiots after everything they've seen him do, and they're afraid he'll be killed by a vulgar cannon shot, watching the blonde man remain calmly in the same place without moving. Nile, fire. A huge roar echoed throughout the place, accompanied by a thick layer of dust. Everyone except Annie and the soldiers, Nuo. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 17. Mikasa and the rest of the girls, excluding Annie Leonhardt, fell to their knees with their eyes wide open. They had just witnessed the execution of their beloved blonde and Iren Yeager without having been able to do anything to assist them and save them from such a bloody death. The dust from the impact gradually cleared, surprising everyone because where Iren and Naruto lay there was a kind of rock dome which had stopped the cannonball, leaving it embedded in the stone. Armin, could it be him? Unable to believe what he was seeing, the dome began to disintegrate, revealing the blonde man and his still unconscious friend without a scratch. Mikasa, thank goodness they're okay, smiling with immense happiness. Nile, it's impossible, backing away in fear, shoot them. Kill them both. The soldiers snapped out of their shock and opened fire on the two boys, much to the terror of their friends. This time the blonde boy didn't even flinch. He positioned himself in front of Iren, shielding him from any impact that could harm him. He was riddled with bullets, much to the horror of the girls, who screamed even louder than before, trying to break free from their captors and rush at that bastard Nile and his men. The man in question smiled arrogantly as he watched the boy fall to his knees, his head bowed. In the end, you're not all that. The blonde boy exploded into smoke, leaving behind a badly damaged wooden. Before anyone present could even open their mouths in astonishment or say anything, a reddish blur disabled the soldiers' weapons and knocked them out effortlessly. Before their bodies hit the ground, the blonde boy had reappeared right in front of Iren as if he hadn't actually moved at all. That place. Nile, impossible, what the hell are you? Looking in terror at the young man who was standing upright in front of him a few meters away. Naruto, what I am is none of your business, pulling a kunai from under his sleeve. What should matter to you is what's going to happen to you. Before the blonde could make a move, an authoritative voice stopped what would have been an assassination. Halt, everyone, said a bald man with a mustache. Commander Pixis had arrived, accompanied by Instructor Keith Shadys and several armed men from the garrison. The high-ranking military officer walked casually as his men surrounded Nile's men, who were now unarmed and unconscious thanks to the Konoha shinobi. Naruto Uzumaki, you will be arrested and imprisoned in the dungeons by order of the king himself. But don't worry, your safety and Iren Yeager's will not be compromised from this moment forward, the commander continued. And as for you, he looked at Nile, who was sitting on the ground, his legs giving way from the terror he had felt moments before. I'm going to have a very serious talk about your behavior and your leadership of the military police. Nile, yes sir, the military police commander replied, fear in his voice. Pixis, all right, take the two boys to the cells. Nile, Doc, come with me, don't worry about your men, we'll take them to the infirmary and the others. Looking at the two squads and the men under Fabian's command, don't do anything foolish. The trial will take place very soon. Return to your respective quarters and wait patiently, and this isn't a suggestion, it's an order. Without another word, the commander left, accompanied by Nile and a couple of Pixis's escorts. The rest of the soldiers divided up the remaining orders. Some picked up their unconscious comrades, and others took the blonde and the brunette straight to the cells. All this happened under the watchful eyes of the two boys' friends, who could do nothing but curse their bad luck and reluctantly retreat, especially the girls, who, despite Commander Pixis's insistence that his friends would be treated with respect and decency, they couldn't help but feel uneasy about them, especially Mikasa. Several hours later in the dungeons, Naruto sat on his cot with his arms crossed. He hadn't done much since arriving at that depressing place, which some of the guards ironically called the Little Hotel. They were quite amusing fellows, and note the irony. At least Iren had woken up about 3/4 of an hour ago, and being in the next cell, he was able to tell him everything that had happened and why they were there awaiting trial before Judge Jackkal. At first, Iren was surprised to learn that he had become a Titan and had helped his blonde friend end the invasion of the Trost district. He was also unsettled by the fact that the military police commander Nile Doc had tried to execute them with one of the cannons created to attack Titans. After a few minutes of silence, The brown-haired boy couldn't stand the awkwardness of the atmosphere any longer and decided to ask his friend something that had been on his mind since he learned of his transformation into a titan. Iren, this Naruto the green-eyed boy broke the silence. Naruto, tell me, the shinobi answered from his cell, now lying on the bed which to his taste was as hard as a rock and as uncomfortable as hell. Iren, when I transformed into that thing you told me about, did I do anything that hurt you or anyone else? Naruto, no, you just killed every beast that came your way, staring at the ceiling with boredom. Iren, and were you afraid when you saw me? He asked, his voice trembling with fear. Naruto, relax, I knew it was you even before you arrived. The blonde with blue eyes replied again, as if what he had said was the most normal thing in the world. But it wasn't like that for Jaeger, who approached the wall with more questions. Iren, how did you know it was me even before I appeared or when I was already in front of you? How is that possible? A little agitated. Naruto, I'll answer that in due time. There are prying ears here and I'm not interested in people knowing everything I'm capable of, right guys? Looking at the two guards who were sitting at a table in the room opposite the cells, they jumped. Jailer 1, you can keep talking, we weren't listening. With a couple of hours worth of sweat dripping down his face. Jailer 2, you're right, we're focused on our card game, don't hold back when you talk. Naruto, yeah, sure, turning sideways on his bed, looking at the wall that faced Iren's cell. When we're out of this mess we've gotten ourselves into, I'll tell you everything, okay? Iren, I'll take you up on that. Friend, the brunette lay down on his cot, searching for the most comfortable position. After a few changes and several minutes, he managed to fall asleep. One day later at the Survey Corps headquarters, all the residents of the building got up early and proceeded to have breakfast, most of them without much appetite except for Sasha, who had argued in her defense against Krista and Emir's, scolding that stress and worry greatly increased her appetite. Once they had finished their breakfast, they remained seated at the enormous living room table, talking or imagining how their friends were doing in prison. Whether they had eaten well or not Sasha, whether they had been horribly tortured Krista, whether they had been nearly grod Emir, or whether they had suffered all three at once Mikasa and Carolina. All these outlandish suppositions were shared with the frightened Connie and Armin, who swallowed hard, imagining each and every situation in vivid detail. Annie, for her part, simply listened to all her companions' ramblings, wondering what would happen at the trial. At that point, it could be said that the blonde had a little concerned about the fate of the blonde shinobi. The doors of the place swung open, revealing a small group of people who were surprised to see them there. Great, the new recruits, Og, said a rather mature man, stumbling and biting his tongue. Silence, Oruo, a short, dark-haired boy spoke with a grumpy expression. Oruo, Yai's captain, are you the new members of the reconnaissance brigade? Staring intently at everyone at the table. Armin, if this, not knowing how to call him or refer to him. Call me Captain Brat, by the way, my name is Levi Ackerman and these are Petra. A girl with orange hair greeted her new companions with a genuine smile. That loudmouth over there is Oruo. The man grumbled under his breath at the disrespectful way his captain had addressed him. Gunter, the one addressed, simply raised his hand. And like Gunter, the one addressed, simply raised his hand in greeting. And who are you brats? After the introductions of its new members, the newcomers went to their rooms, which luckily were on the floor above theirs, thus avoiding a conflict with the veteran members of the Survey Corps. When they had settled their things, Captain Levi took a seat, looking at them intently for a few moments, making them feel a little uncomfortable with those penetrating eyes that the dwarf had. Levi, that's strange. According to the report Commander Irwin gave me, there were a total of 10 new members, but there are only 8 of you. Where are the other 2? The dark-haired man questioned with a serious and analytical look. The girls hesitated about whether or not to tell the boy in front of them the reason for Naruto and Iren's absence. To be honest, they didn't have much confidence in the guy who, to top it all off, seemed to be quite rough and strict. However, Armin raised his hand, drawing everyone's attention in the room. Armin, this Captain Levi, you're right, there are 10 of us in total. The thing is not knowing how to express himself correctly, which in turn was a very bad combination with a guy like Levi who was a person without any patience or tolerance for beating around the bush and excuses. Levi, speak up, brat. He raised his voice slightly, startling the blonde boy who began to stutter uncontrollably. Oruo, well, the new boy doesn't look like someone with his pants properly tied around his waist, quite the opposite. The one who seemed the most adult of them all chuckled, only to be silenced by a blow to the head that made him bite his tongue, courtesy of the redhead better known as Petra. Petra, don't be so cruel to that idiot boy. And I ask the same of you, Teichu. She reprimanded her superior with greater serenity. Levi, whatever, just get it over with. Armin, you see, the thing is. A Fox Among Titans, Chapter 18. Everyone listened in strict silence to the blonde man's explanations. Armin omitted some very significant facts, such as Naruto's impressive abilities or Iren's transformation, to explain their imprisonment. He simply offered a flimsy excuse, disobeying orders. None of the newcomers to the city uttered a single word until the Arlet finished his short narrative monologue about the latest events within the walls. Levi rose from his seat, intending to leave, which surprised both the new members and the veterans. Petra, Teichu, where are you going? The orangey-haired girl asked, observing the back of the dark-haired man who was about to open the door. Levi, I'm going to talk to Commander Irwin. Stay here. That's an order, the grumpy dwarf muttered with a sour face as he left through the doorway, closing it behind him. Connie, what a temper the captain has, huh? The bald man asked, hand on his chin, a hint of annoyance on his face. Oruo, shut up, brat. The Teichu has been through a lot. A little kid like you, who hasn't even left the walls yet, couldn't even imagine it, so us. The chestnut-haired man abruptly ended his intervention, having bitten his tongue as often happened to him throughout the day. What Oruo means is, don't judge the captain by his behavior. He has his reasons for being this way, but he's a great captain and a man of great courage and effectiveness in critical moments. So watch your words, at least in my presence. With that, Oruo and Gunter went upstairs to their respective quarters, leaving Petra alone with her new companions. Petra, well, the girl murmured, unsure how to break the ice and shatter the tense silence that had settled in the room. Can I ask you something? Everyone looked at her without objecting, so one could say that silence implies consent. As you said, Commander Pixis sent you all to fight the Titans, and practically all of you are alive. That's very rare to see in recruits, and even more so during an attack of that magnitude. Who led your squads? Everyone looked at each other except for Annie, who stared intently at the redhead. Annie, it was Uzumaki and Jaeger, both were squad leaders by direct order of Commander Pixis. Petra, while that means they're good soldiers, she placed her hand on her chin, indicating she was thinking carefully. What I don't understand is why they would be put on trial for disobeying a superior's order, if they managed to keep their platoons intact. Armin, about that. While the blonde felt the murderous gaze of the 5 women on him, except for Leonhardt. It wouldn't be a good idea to say more. It was better to remain silent and thus preserve his life. Petra, why are you silent? Crossing her arms with a raised eyebrow, speak and tell me in detail whatever it is you were going to tell me. The blonde man began to sweat, pressing his hands against his legs as he could feel the murderous instinct of the women increasing with each passing second. Armin's POV, damn my big mouth. Armin, Arlet thought in a pitiful voice, seeing himself in a dead end. Petra, well. Emir, I think our colleague talked too much. We already told you everything we knew about what happened, right, Armin? She said this last part in a terrifically sweet tone that sent shivers down the spines of both the blonde and the bald man sitting next to her, who was seriously considering getting up from his seat to avoid suffering collateral damage. Sasha, Petrasen, don't pay too much attention to Armin. He's very talkative and sometimes says silly things to try to prolong conversations, right, Armin? The brunette lover of bacchanals added with a sinister look and disturbing smile. Armin, I unable to form a complete and coherent sentence due to unbearable fear. Krista, come on. Armin apologized to Miss Petra for trying to tell her your nonsense. Her eyes were hidden behind her bangs, but a threatening glint still shone through them. Connie, I'm going to my room, jumping up like a spring and running up the stairs to her room and locking the door. Armin, POV, you bald traitorous bastard, you'll pay for this, crying comically inside, now completely alone in the face of the impending danger. Carolina and Armin focusing her eyes on him. Emir, what do you have to say? Doing the same as the brunette. Krista, so Armin, what were you going to tell us? Seconding the other two. Sasha, and don't you dare say anything stupid like you always do, joining the others, forming a quartet of terrifying and demonic women. Armin, Mikasa. The blonde boy's eyes sought the assistance of the girl with the red scarf, but to his surprise and subsequent absolute panic, his friend was watching him with a penetrating gaze that promised him a long and intense day of pain and agony if he dared to say anything they didn't like, and to his misfortune, he didn't even know what words could save him from execution. Armin, well, it's a bit chilly in here, isn't it? Trying to relieve the infamous pressure that had settled in the barracks. Petra, you're hiding something, and judging by the way all the girls are looking at you, it's something very important or interesting, narrowing her eyes, both piercing like daggers into the blonde boy who was about to tip the table over and get the hell out of there. Far from the barracks of the reconnaissance brigade, more specifically at headquarters, while Armin played Russian roulette with the girls from the squad. Levi Ackerman entered the main building with a serious expression, navigating past several people going about their daily tasks without paying much attention to the glances some of them gave him as he passed. In his mind, there was only one important thing: to reach the office of the commander of the reconnaissance brigade, Erwin Smith, and speak with him about the latest news concerning 2 of his now new subordinates. The short young man arrived at the door leading to his superior's office. Without wanting to delay any longer, he knocked a few times, opening the door to find himself face to face with a blond man, slicked back with dull blue eyes, who was observing him with a raised eyebrow from behind his desk. Erwin, Levi, I didn't expect you back here so soon, lowering his gaze to focus again on a moderate amount of documents and reports. Levi, I didn't expect to have to come here in just 3 hours either, but the reasons speak for themselves. Approaching his superior's desk, crossing his arms with annoyance on his face as usual. Erwin, you tell me, putting his pen down on the table and paying all his attention to the dark-haired man with the eternally angry face. Levi, it's about the new members of my brigade. You told me there were 10, well, it turns out 2 of them are in prison according to their comrades. For serious insubordination, what kind of people do you send to my unit? He shouted the last part, slamming his fist on the blue-eyed man's table, who wasn't startled in the slightest. He had dealt with Ackerman for too long not to know him inside and out. Erwin, Commander Pixis just spoke to me about that the trial will be tomorrow at 10, and it seems Zackley will be the one to hand down the sentence. Levi, wonderful, I just received a handful of brats, and I'm already losing 2 to the gallows, damn useless. Punks, the little guy grumbled through his teeth with a lot of annoyance in his voice. As if it wasn't enough to have to carry the bad reputation of being the brigade with the highest casualty rate. Now they would also have to bear the burden of having had a couple of undisciplined brats in their ranks. Erwin, before you go on and on about the rookies in your division, you should know that those 2 brats you complain about so much are the best of the newly graduated recruit class, and the other is among the top 10 besides. They did a great job countering the Titan invasion after the fall of Wall Rose, the blonde man commented calmly, staring intently at his dark-haired subordinate. Levi, so, he asked, suddenly opening his arms to indicate his doubts to his superior. Why are those 2 brats imprisoned if they did a great job? Erwin, because of what happened during it, the high-ranking military officer blurted out, using both hands to support his head. Levi, stop beating around the bush. I don't like it when people beat around the bush to explain something. The captain raised his voice, his patience dangerously overflowing its limit. Erwin, I'll just say that somehow in a way we can't understand, one of the 2 boys, Eren Yeager, became a Titan. The dark-haired man's eyes widened in surprise. It was impossible for something like that to happen. Somehow he did, and he helped contain the other monsters before Levi could formulate a response. The blonde man continued his explanation to his subordinate. And the most surprising thing of all is that the other boy, Uzumaki Naruto, possesses abilities magical or otherworldly. Levi, have you lost your mind? The short young man shouted, slamming both hands on the commander's desk. Aren't you listening to yourself? A brat who turns into a Titan, another one who uses magic or whatever. Damn it, Erwin, who the hell do you think I am? A moron who's going to believe such nonsense. If those 2 are about to be executed by order of Judge Zackley, it's simply because they deserted their duty as soldiers because of their incompetence or cowardice, not because he's a Titan or whatever that other brat might be. Damn it. Losing his temper, and understandably so. Who did the commander think he was? An imbecile, a gullible fool, an idiot, who would swallow such a string of unrealistic lies. Erwin, you can believe me or not. Levi rising from his seat to look at the city from the window of his office. I'll just tell you this, there hasn't been a single lie in my words, everything I've told you. Commander Pixis himself told me. Levi Ackerman looked away from Erwin Smith's back with an annoyed expression. Levi, yeah, right, when you respect me, even just a little, turning to leave the room. Call me and tell me the truth, Commander. He whispered the last word sarcastically, then opened the door to leave. Erwin, the trial is tomorrow. Without turning to look at him, I hope you go and see how I haven't lied to you at any point, Levi. Levi, Tusk, opening the door and leaving the room, slamming it behind him. Erwin, what a temper, sighing resignedly as he continued to be engrossed in observing the cityscape through the glass. Minutes later, the captain of the Survey Corps arrived at his unit's barracks. There he was greeted, or rather, found all the women of his brigade chatting amongst themselves with a bit more ease. His eyes, however, didn't notice the blonde boy, Armin Arlert, who was sitting in the same spot he'd been since Levi left, though with his head down. Perhaps he was tired or even asleep. What he didn't know was that the boy was, in fact, unconscious, all thanks to a sharp blow to the back of his neck from Mikasa, perhaps out of fear that he might spill the beans due to the pressure on his shoulders. At least Petra wouldn't be asking them again. Levi snorted, drawing the attention of everyone present. Petra, Teichu, are you all right? Her orangey-haired subordinate asked, a slight hint of concern in her eyes and face. Levi, what's with that question? He replied almost reproachfully to the girl who, thanks to knowing him for a long time, didn't take his words badly. Petra, I was just asking, you seem very upset. Did something happen? Levi, I already answered you before heading towards the stairs to go up to their quarters. The female group and the unconscious Arlet kept a strict silence until they heard the sound of a door closing, a sign that the danger had passed. Emir, what a repulsive guy. I don't know how the hell you can put up with him all day. The freckled girl broke the silence with her arms crossed, a little annoyed by how her superior was behaving. Krista, Emir, I don't think it's good for you to talk about the Teichu like that. The short girl reprimanded the brunette, especially because of Petra's presence. Petra, oh come on, it's nothing, the only veteran of the Survey Corps said, waving her hand with a small smile. I thought the same thing about him when I arrived here with time, and when I command you outside the walls, you'll grow fond of him. Sasha, I don't know by the way you have to fill the pantries with food. The food-loving brunette inquired sternly, because for her the mere fact of having an empty stomach was unbearable torture. Carolina, don't you think about anything else? With an amused smile. Emir, if you keep going like this you'll get really fat and Naruto-kun won't want to see you anymore, drawing the attention of everyone else because of the affectionate way she referred to the blonde Uzumaki. Mikasa, what do you mean kun? Looking at her with annoyance and jealousy, which brought an even bigger smile to the girl with few verbal filters. Emir, that's right, I forgot to tell you that Naruto-kun saved my life. He carried me in his strong arms like I was his girlfriend. He was so handsome, remembering that scene with a small blush on her face and a smile somewhere between dreamy and perverted. Krista, even if that happens it doesn't mean anything, you hear me. The dwarf spoke up ahead of the extremely jealous Mikasa. Emir, and what are you going to do? If you're thinking of doing anything to me, I'll just tell you that Naruto-kun will come to rescue me again. She continued, putting her fingers in the wound. Mikasa, you'll be clenching her teeth in pure rage, but luckily Petra decided to break the tension. She didn't want this friendly little exchange of words to turn into a fistfight maybe. Petra, that boy Naruto Uzumaki is very interesting. Carolina, you have no idea how much. The brunette replied with a perverted look which once again heightened the tension in the atmosphere. Mikasa, what the hell are you thinking, you pervert? Carolina, oh, in no time Naruto looked so good in his sweaty shirt at the recruitment academy. She said to herself and the others, yes, she thought out loud again with a slight thread of drool falling from the corner of her lips. Mikasa/Krista/Sasha, you damned pervert, grieving at her. Emir, I would lick him until the sweat runs down his body. The chestnut-haired woman added fuel to the fire. Annie, tusk, you're all slugs, looking to the side in annoyance. Emir, jealous. Don't you want to feel Naruto-kun's arms around you, tightly encircling you, smell his scent, feel his breath near your mouth, see his sapphire eyes staring intently at you, only you? She replied sarcastically, making everyone present blush, including Petra and Annie. Levi, if you've stopped masturbating prematurely, start preparing dinner. I'm hungry. The girls jumped at the sound of their captain's voice as he calmly descended the stairs with his ever-present annoyed expression. Petra, Titechu. Since when? Levi, for a while now you all seem like a bunch of little girls. I don't know what you see in that brat, what a waste of personnel. Emir, damned anus. Krista, calm down, holding her arm to prevent her from getting up from her seat. Levi, Petra, are you going to prepare dinner or not? Raising his voice slightly, an unmistakable sign that he was losing patience. Petra, I'm so sorry, Levi Techu, but we're out of surplus, we have nothing to eat. The boy muttered curses under his breath, which the girls didn't like at all, except for Petra. Levi, in that case, one of you should go buy something if there's still a place open that sells food. I'll be down in a bit, and there'd better be a plate on the table, at least for me. With that, the grumpy dwarf went back upstairs under the watchful eyes of his new subordinates. Mikasa. Emir, you idiot. Krista, Emir, Carolina, imbecile. Krista, Carolina, Sasha, you're right about the food, making everyone's necks a huge bead of sweat form. Petra, what choice do I have? I'll go see if I can find something, getting up from her seat to leave. Mikasa, wait, the redhead turned to look at her. I'll go with you, it's the least I can do to help. Sasha, me too, maybe I can eat something on the way back. The brunette said enthusiastically, getting up from her seat very quickly. Krista, in that case, I'll get the kitchen ready. Emir, I'll wait for you here, putting her feet on the table. Carolina, heh, didn't they teach you manners? The raven-haired girl with pigtails tried to provoke her. Emir, and weren't you taught that it's wrong to be drooling over a hexy blonde guy all the time? Carolina, the frying pan said to the saucepan with an amused and self-satisfied look at her biting reply. Petra, let's go now, Anison. The blonde looked at her without much interest. Can you make sure there's no trouble while we're outside? Annie, yes, she replied without much interest. Petra, thank you. With that, the three girls left the building with the difficult mission of finding an open shop where they could buy something to eat.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.